Okay, and here we are again for the second week of the GamerGate community streams. I have Lord Nuggle here as my co-host, and of course we
Nurgle.
have Circle Fox as our essentially the gatekeeper of who's coming in.
I love that you call me Circle Fox.
That's it's how I remember you. Your name is Circle, and you have a little fox icon.
Word. It's all good. How's it going, guys?
Yo.
Oh, that's always good. Okay, so let's see. Before we go anywhere, so a little format change for everybody who is listening currently. I'm looking to tone this down. Who's coming in?
I love that you call me Circle Fox.
Oh shoot! Okay, anyway. Sorry, I had something distract me here. So a format change from last week. I'm going to cut this down to 4 hours at max if it goes on that long. It might end a little bit sooner than that since a lot of people were very busy this weekend. And after that, I'm also going to be sharing the same channel with up to 3 other people, and we'll be changing who's hosting each week to kind of take the load off people. And that, of course, might change as well. We might cut this down to every 2 weeks or once a month as well. So we'll see how that goes anyway.
It's gonna definitely get interesting up in here.
Oh yeah, definitely, especially with that exciting music in the background.
Oh yeah, you gotta love that music. That's
Alright, so
Hey, can you actually DM me the stream link again, real quick?
yeah, let me go ahead and do that for you. So let's see, Nuggle, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit for anybody who might be unfamiliar with you.
Well, I am Lord Nurgle. I run a YouTube stream myself. You can always find me running around Twitter yelling about chaos and bringing doom and gloom to everything since I am the chaos god of death and disease. Really, I'm just a regular old guy. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is about me.
Alright. Anyway, yeah. So same as last time, we'll see about having some interesting guests come on. And at the same time, we'll see about voting out anons who feel like bringing up whatever they want to talk about. So I think, Foxy, we're working on our first guest.
And they're coming in just a second.
All right, cool.
Then I guess we'll just chill here and shoot the shit. So, Faye, how you doing tonight?
Not so bad. I think. Let's see. One of you brought up something to talk about at least. What was the Star Citizen thing you wanted to mention, right?
Well, I think we were talking about mentioning it. It's a little bit of a. It's been hard for me to keep track of because it keeps changing and there's new things keep coming out with it and I'm lost on it. I've tried reading up on everything. It's just been so much to read.
There really is a lot of information to come from that. Just from what I know about it, one of the most surprising things has been the backlash from it, and how many people are just completely unfamiliar with the fact that journalistic sites can have hidden sources, protected sources.
Yeah, that was a little bit weird for me because from what I understand, so Liz got contacted by employees from in there, and I think a lot of people misunderstood that as like her repeating what Derek Smart has been saying or something like that. They're like confusing her sources for, I don't know, Derek Smart stuff.
Yeah, it was a combination of repeating supposedly repeating what Derek Smart has been saying and taking information from someplace called, I think it was the Glass Door.
Oh yeah.
I'm not entirely familiar with that.
Yeah, I heard about that one.
I do know that Polly has got some stuff to say about that.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Paulie, welcome again. How's it going, buddy?
What's going on, Polly?
Thank you for having me. Can you guys hear me all right?
Just fine.
Sound pretty good.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I just posted a tweet longer from me as a reference on the points I like to bring on. Just as some of you may already know about me from my previous podcast with Paulo, that I'm basically one of the space jockeys in GamerGate, and Chris Roberts' games happen to be one of my mainstay of collection. So let's just say I'm quite familiar with what's happening in Star Citizen, despite me having to spend quite a bit of time drawing stuff for GamerGate and trying to sort my own life out and such. So would you guys rather to throw me some question regarding to Star Citizen, or should I go quickly go over my point on my tweet longer? What would you rather me to do?
Well, we have a... Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, well, honestly, like I've gotten bits and pieces over time. So if you think you have like a comprehensive kind of explanation as to what's going on, I would personally like to hear it. But I don't know if you guys.
I was going to say
I'd like to hear a nice overview of it myself.
An overview would definitely help for me. I'm always on Twitter when I'm at work, essentially, but I don't have the time to catch the details. So I don't know bits and pieces about Star Citizen, and I'm sure there's probably one or two people in the chat watching as well who could use some more information. So
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
I will try my best about it because the reason why I don't want to talk too much about it in the past couple of days, because for one, well, let's just say I'm nobody, so I kind of hesitant to place myself in the firing line, especially in front of Derek Smart and Lizzie Finnegan, because they have the star power. I'm just a nobody, so that's and I'm relatively like to stay low profile and things. But that's for one, and second, I'm still trying to figure out a lot of things and gathering my thought, like what I could possibly to make of it. So I think I'll do a really quick brief about what people don't understand about Star Citizen. I think I'll quickly brief everyone. Is that Star Citizen essentially contains two games. The project have two games essentially in the same graphic engine universe. Mm-hmm. One would be called Squadron 42, and the second one would be Star Citizen. Simply put, Star Citizen is the freelancer for the Star Lancer as Squadron 42. Do you guys familiar with Star Lancer and Freelancer?
I'm familiar with Freelancer to some degree. Wasn't that one of his previous projects?
Yes, as Digital Envo. So Star Lancer is the game that was probably made in the late 90s or early Y2K. I forgot the exact time frame, and it was basically somewhat similar to Wing Commander, except for your character doesn't speak. You can define his or her gender and name, and that's it. And basically, it's like World War III in space. And two factions, the Alliance and the Coalition fighting over the solar system, and Freelancer will be the event that takes place after the story of Star Lancers, which the humanity left the solar system and start to colonize the other systems. So that's the general idea. And Squadron 42 would be, like the big war, and the Star Citizen would be the aftermath, the space utopia.
So where did the controversy kind of start?
I think the controversy actually started when Smart started his hit pieces onto the Star Citizen a few a month ago or something like that. Because I don't follow Derek Smart closely, as I don't really know what he did in the sci-fi game exactly. So yeah.
It seemed like he kind of it just seemed like he had a bone to pick with Star Citizen for a little bit, but it also seemed like he had some actual criticism for what was going on there.
Yeah, I really wanted to get him on tonight to ask him some of those questions, like how exactly did he get involved to begin with, and why does he have such a huge stake in it? I get the impression that he approaches it from a very consumer-oriented perspective, and that's why he's so concerned about it. At least that's the impression I get from watching him over the past couple of months talking about the issue.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, and if I'm not mistaken, there's some history with the developer of Star Citizen, like the head developer of it, and him that goes all the way back to something that had to do with the game Wing Commander, and even a lawsuit or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was some history with those two, and that's part of, I think, what's kind of fueling some of it.
Yeah.
I think it's rivalry. Let's just say I'm a space jockey here. Never heard of Universal Combat and what is that, Battle Cruiser 3080. Here's the thing: I can name all the just specifically spaceflight games I play in my life. Let's see, Wing Commander 2, that would be Revenge of Kiroth. 3 would be what's that? Hollow Tiger. That's the one with more camo. The maniac, the guy from Back to the Future, and John Rhys Davies. That's 3. Oh, and Malcolm McDonald. Yeah, a bunch of really well-known actors in, like the first CD cinematic game. And I'm talking about just space ones. Actually, Chris Roberts also made two fairly somewhat history-based games. One would be Strike Commander. The other one would be Pacific Strike. So that's 4 titles. And then there's Wing Commander 4 and Wing Commander 5. So that's 6 titles. Let's see. Star Lancer and Freelancer. That's 8 titles.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's all. That's just a Chris Roberts game I played, and the other 2 space game. The other 4 space games I played in my life would be Independence War and Tachyon the Fringe. That's the Bruce Campbell one, and of course Free Space 1 and 2.
So this is really your bread and butter when it comes to video games, huh?
Yeah, I'm the spaceman spiff.
Nice.
So how did you feel about Star Citizen when you first heard about it?
I was so happy when Chris Roberts returned to the scene, because I'm a huge fan of the sci-fi stuff. Yeah, watched as many Battlestar Galactica as I can, that kind of stuff. And before that, I played a bunch of free space mod as well. And myself, I actually also played Wing Commander Darkest Dawn, Wing Commander Saga Darkest Dawn. That's the free space 2 mod. Have you guys heard of that?
I can't say I have.
I can't say that I've heard of it either.
That's the really the biggest free space 2 mod that has full voice acting and actually being recognized by Chris Roberts as canon. Like the story took place in Wing Commander Saga, also takes place in the time frame of Wing Commander 3, and Roberts and friends kind of consider the story in the mod, in the fan-made project, as official. That's how big that thing is. So yeah.
Okay. Just gonna interrupt real quick here. Since we're missing any real featured guests tonight, I see no reason why we can't open up the lines to an additional non, essentially, while we're here. So let's see if we can get Cannabis in here.
Yeah, well, Cannabis is here. He's just chilling.
Hey.
Exactly. There you go.
What's going on, Cannabis?
What's up, everyone?
Why don't you go ahead and weigh in?
Pardon?
I said, why don't you go ahead and weigh in what we're talking about here?
On this.
I haven't played the game he's talking about, so I really can't give an accurate opinion on that, and that's my opinion. If I haven't played a game, I'm not like some reviewers that review a game without playing it. So I'm just listening to you guys' input.
Well, okay, so in this case of Star Citizen, just to kind of cut to the point of the matter, it seems like there's a lot of, I guess, just from the outside, it seems like there's a lot of fans who are seeing what Derek Smart has been talking about Star Citizen all this time, compounded with the article that Lizzie wrote about Star Citizen with the context that she got from the employers there, the ex-employees. What? Sorry, what's that?
No, that's fine. I was just saying that I can't believe that so many people put so much money into this game.
Oh yeah.
So little has been coming out of it for the past couple of years.
Well, I mean, it's just gamers will do that, like if you really want to see a game, like look at what was it, Shenmue that did
Shenmue 3 or whatever it is.
People threw money at that before like the event was even over. It was like funded.
or like Mighty Number 9. I mean, money is thrown left and right to Mighty Number 9.
And not to mention, Mighty Number 9 is much simpler. I mean, it's a side-scrolling Mega Man-esque game, and Star Citizen is basically testing a lot of physics, multi-cruise ship. Like, you want to fly a B-17 in space, Star Citizen is working on that.
Ambitious is an understatement when it comes to Star Citizen. It had a lot that it wanted to do. like full space exploration and like first-person shooter mode type deals and shit. Like it was supposed to be like a really big project, so I don't know if it had the proper amount of funding for it, but people did throw money at it like crazy. For what they were trying to do, I think it was under budget, right?
Yeah, I'm a bit worried, but the thing that concerns me the most is that if Source Citizen fails, if it fails, it's failed on its own, well, over ambition stuff like that. It has nothing to do with, the misconduct of gaming journalism. It's not a GamerGate fight. I, for one, don't know why Derek Smart and Finnegan wants to drag a neutral party into our fight.
Well, that's actually the part that I wanted to talk about, because that's the part I do know about. Is it seems like people are conflating what they're doing as something that's related to Gamergate, and I mean, if you were to just take note, Liz hasn't been involved in Gamergate for almost, I don't know, man, like.
It's been over half a year now, I believe. But she's been very good about it too. Like she still talks with some of the people in the circles about it. Otherwise, she's very.
And then Derek Smart is a self-proclaimed neutral. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't seen him actually say Gamergate needs to do this or Gamergate needs to do that in regards to Star Citizen. And I haven't seen anything from Liz either.
Well, you know how it goes. If you associate with us, it's very easy for them to just kind of brand them as being part of us, and that's what we saw happen essentially when it came to the lashback against Liz's article.
But I mean, I have seen a lot of people in Gamergate say, "Hey, this isn't a Gamergate fight," but I haven't seen anybody actually say. I haven't seen anybody pull the "Be My Personal Army" card yet.
There's a lot of people in the community who have been very interested in it, at least, and there's nothing wrong with that naturally. But
because they're gamers.
Yeah, but because we're gamers and because that we're associated with Gamergate, that's how people write it off anyway.
And I am getting the impression, just my personal impression. I think they are still using the contact they made in Gamergate, because these two are famous because Gamergate, and I've seen people who are basically being their own attacking dog. I should correct myself on the tweet longer. Is that my impression is that Gamergate people are willingly become their own attacking dogs. That's one of my concern. Of course, now I'm placing myself on the firing line, but
Nah, don't worry about it, man. I mean, you have an opinion. No one's gonna I mean, unless they're part of outrage culture, no one's gonna be like, "Oh, you said this thing, like horrible, what a horrible person." Like, no, everybody's got opinions, so don't worry about being on the firing line. It's like people might disagree with you. Just be open to that.
Thanks. Yeah. And another thing. Another pretty red flag for me is the sourcing from Glassdoor. I saw some of the review and stuff. I don't know. It looks artificial to me. Of course, I don't know. Why would I know better? I speak some Mandarin English. And
if you mind me asking, because I'm still trying to learn about this myself. What is Glassdoor as anyway?
Yeah, that's entirely unknown territory for me.
Yeah, apparently it's an Australian website that allows you to anonymously review your employer and CEO. And here's something that bothers me a lot: is that let's look at the people in Cloud Imperium games. That's Chris Roberts and friends. Those people are your old school sci-fi guys. They don't have progressive stack working for their advantage. So if someone has real grievance toward to the Cloud Imperium games, they can bring up without worrying about being ostracized by other game devs and stuff. Because remember, those people from CIG Cloud Imperium games, they stay away from likes of Ben Kuchera and or whatever those dirty journalists. They're completely neutral and in the whole fight, and they're non-combatant in my opinion. They're trying to be Switzerland and just stay away and do their stuff. So they don't have the kind of power to destroy any disgruntled employees. So that's why I really question the sources they're bringing here, and the unwillingness to be open for such a for something that is so irrelevant to the outrage culture. That brings me red flag.
Well, what about outrage culture was involved in this? Do you mean like yeah, what do you mean by that?
Oh, then because there's none. There's none. So basically, if I'm one of the Cloud Imperium disgruntled employees, I don't need to worry about myself getting ostracized from the industry by going up, like by criticizing or going up against Chris Roberts and whoever else, or Sandy
Uh,
Gardner or whatever, because those people don't have that progressive stack, which is heavily used by by our collective foes. Do you
hmm
see what I'm getting at?
I think. Okay, so all right, so with because we were kind of talking about Glassdoor a little bit. I was kind of confused a little bit about how that was related to this whole deal.
From what I understand on that is it's a website that apparently some of the people who Liz used as sources then also turned around to and put up that same information that they relayed to her. So people following up on Liz's article and trying to find some way to discredit her and what she wrote went there and sourced it saying she just kind of lifted the words from that and used
Oh,
it.
okay. Oh, I mean, was it like verbatim or something?
I think some of it was, but I didn't see anything for myself. But that's what I
Oh.
remember catching.
Yeah, because I mean, from all right, so they posted like an update article, which I did read, which explained their process, and it basically mirrored everything that I had kind of talked, to the journalists at SPJ about, as far as how to treat anonymous sources. I mean, you don't want to use anonymous sources if you can avoid it, and like like what they were saying is, they pretty much try to avoid it like the plague, and try to get names to faces. But in this case, no one's going to talk with their name with their name on things because it'll hurt their employment opportunities in the future. But it seemed like they went about it the right way. You do phone call, which I think she started with phone calls for the most part. People
Well, she said,
contacting her, and then afterwards she eventually got them on Skype. Um,
yeah, I read some of that. She had them in video chats and
yeah.
as well as phone calls and talking to them personally. But
So that seems like
still,
it's totally like off of what, like that's totally outside of whatever Derek Smart is saying, and it doesn't seem like it's supposed to be a hit piece because at the end of the day, she gave them full comment at the end of the article, and they they had their ability to actually comment on the situation, which they did. Or I think she updated afterwards because she didn't get their reply back in time.
well, looking at the chat here, Zeta 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 was saying only one dev had similar language, and it's because that dev posted his complaints to Glassdoor after the interview. And none
Okay.
of the other ones shared language even remotely close to it. That's according to one of the guys in our chat, which is Zeta Zeta Zeta.
Yeah, that's
Gotcha.
essentially what I heard as well.
So, I
Quick
mean,
question, Cannabis, are you over there? Did you meet yourself again, or
I'm here.
No,
I'm
you're
just
still
listening to the conversation.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think he's just waiting.
All right.
yeah, I mean, it seems to me that like there's this big outrage over Star Citizen, but it's mostly just because people don't like people talking bad about a game that they really want to see happen.
There's definitely a lot to say to that, and really, I would love to dedicate a whole stream to that, but I'll leave that to somebody else with a little bit more
Wait.
time than I'd have.
And
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't plan on.
nobody wants to hear that the game that they've been waiting for forever and that they put money in like is not doing well.
Well, I mean, how much money? If I'm not mistaken, it's made like they've raised like over 9 million or something for it, or something like that.
Somewhere not 90 million is how much they
Holy
raised in total. Yeah,
shit! Holy shit! That's
Yeah,
a lot of fucking money.
But
Yeah,
it's
I
still-
wouldn't blame them.
and they still take donations too. You can still buy products from them that you can't even use.
Now,
That
I mean,
blows my
I'm
mind. That part right there, when you're buying virtual assets for a game not yet produced with no predicted release date yet, you're out of your mind doing something like that.
that's actually worried me too, because I pretty much pledged $300, plus some merchandise from the beginning, and that's about it. I couldn't help but wonder if they kind of went overboard and stuff like that. But I do want to remind people they are serious about getting the people to do the job. For example, do you know who is Ryan Church?
No, I don't know
He's
that.
the Star Wars concept designer. The Bengal class carrier and quite a few ships like Idris Frigate are designed by Ryan Church and quite a few other things. And another name to pay attention to would be John Likens. He's the guy. Does this name ring a bell to you?
I'm really shitty with names, so you have to explain.
Okay, John Likens was the guy behind the head-up display in the Iron Man movie. Yes, the target lock thing,
Okay.
the speeder, the dial, and all those things. That's John Likens doing, and we don't know who. At least as far as we know, one person from Wing Commander 345 is coming back to be one of the actors. Is coming back to be one of the characters in Squadron 42. So
they still got plenty of good people working on the project and stuff like that.
Yeah, the things they do a lot of things. Another thing for people to kind of get the context is one of the community contest, which will be designing a gunship. The Pelican from Halo series.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, they have the community to design a Pelican-esque gunship or dropship in the Star Citizen universe. The codename Redeemer. That's the thing, and the winning team has a lot of prize, like from the 3D programs to the Cintiq. That was basically a computer monitor that you can draw on. So
yeah,
in business. And another thing I need to mention about is that the timing of those articles are very, very suspicious. Why? Because Star CityCon or Star Citizen Convention is coming in less than a week.
I would say that sounds a bit suspicious.
Yeah, because they're trying to force responses from Chris Roberts and the rest of the Cloud Imperium people, while they're going to gather their troops in Manchester, UK, to do the convention and do the unveiling of the things we've been looking forward. So
well, I think honestly, how long this project has gone on for, and how long it's overdue. And
yeah,
the little material that has been put out, I think, really, I thought it was like 2 years ago or something like that.
No, it's not overdue. The development was started in late 2012, and
why did I think this was
they never they never been able to set a due date. And those of us who took part in the Kickstarter knew the risk. We knew this is a long shot because Chris Roberts has been silent since was a Star Lancer, Freelancer, and
people just anticipated that it was going to go Valve time, basically, right?
Probably, yeah.
Hopefully it turns out for the best. As it is right now, though, it's just I think even after that much time that has gone by, there should still be something to show for it.
Actually,
from what I've seen and from what I've looked at myself, I don't quite feel there's enough for it. Like, it's cool that all these awesome, really, intricately designed ships you can walk around in and check out, and there's a couple of little demos here and there, but it's nothing like as far as core gameplay goes to really sit down and check out and inspect for yourself.
Okay, Bossman, have you played Arena Commander? You actually get to fly those things in the multiplayer combat, flying around the asteroid fields or debris of space station and fight each other out. That's actually a thing. Of course, I wish they have more, but they've been by saying that not exactly a lot to show is a overstatement. I say that. I stand by that.
Well, as I said at the start of this anyway, I'm not terribly familiar with it, but it's what I've gathered at least from watching kind of on the sidelines for honestly maybe the past year or so, but especially more so over the past few months.
Ultimately, I think the timing might be suspicious, but as long as I guess from the GamerGate perspective, if the it doesn't seem like there's anything to do with SJWs in there, but as far as ethics goes, do you think that any article from Lizzie or whatever that was done was on point? I mean, does it seem like she covered her bases?
Honestly, I feel it's suspicious because the way they describe Sandy Garner is Well, I never got a chance to go to the conventions, but I actually know people who met those people in person, and I've been following their videos from also the convention and the fan live action, video like you carry cameras to convention and that kind of thing. I don't know if that's. I mean, of course, we can always suspect, and people do surprise people. But the things being described about Stanley Garner and the people in Cloud Imperium, I can hardly believe that. That's a problem. Maybe I'm biased. I mean, I maybe I got a glass, rose tinted glass, but the more I think about the smart past games, the more I think this is a vendetta. Because think about it, they're from the same era. One was timeless classic. The other one, this yellow peril of a spaceman speed doesn't know.
Well,
Well, we'll find out anyway.
you mind if I interject real quick? I mean, part of the thing here is I think there's a little bit of vendetta-ness going on between Smart and this gentleman who, I forgot the guy's name.
He could just be using it for leverage.
I think it's Roberts or something like that, but I think there's a little bit of vendetta going on. Yeah, I think there's some vendetta going on there, but the other thing that really gathered my attention from what I was reading was there was a response that was made by Chris Roberts, and he posted this thing, and it almost seems like they're trying their hardest to discredit Lizzie, because they even started throwing in there, oh, well, she was a GamerGate supporter, which is true. She did support it way back in the day before she decided to just
at the very least, I
leave
think
the whole movement. But I don't see how that discredits anything she wrote.
No, at the very least,
it sounds like to me
she's
she's not.
Just to consider the implications of the article that's put out. Maybe it's not true, but it should give pause for thought at the very least. And there's so many of them who I was looking through forums who were just outright dismissing it without even like a second thought.
And that's the thing is like confirmation bias is a bitch. Like people, the way I see it is like you take it or leave it. But she put the information out there, and I think she sourced it pretty well. So I mean, I don't really see what the issue is, and I don't see how people are making connections to her and Smart. Like they're not connected.
They don't like it. They'll just do whatever they can to hand wave it away. But
on the contrary, I don't think it's well sourced. And I mean, I'm consider what I said about the Cloud Imperium people as the old school sci-fi people. You don't really, whoever's, the former employees really don't have a lot of risk by coming out, like share the anonymity and go up against them. Because right now we have anonymous people go up against the known people. So that's one of my concerns. Of course, I'm not ironclad on this, but I do see it. I do not see why the people who are happy with Chris Roberts and the rest of the Cloud Imperium has to stay anonymous, at least in this, because it's not AAA. AAA doesn't like Chris Roberts at all. That's the thing. So they don't risk anything. And another thing I'd like to quickly go about is I actually do agree that Chris Roberts did a bad move by mentioning Gamergate. However, the SJWs did went after Chris Roberts and in his company before in a smaller case. So I almost come to an impression that Chris Roberts want to fend away the SJW by name dropping Gamergate. So he doesn't need to fight a two-way battle while preparing for the CitizenCon, which is in Manchester, which is gonna happen real soon.
Okay, well, we've been going on for this for a little bit, and I would love to talk about this more, but let's go ahead and see what else other people might want to talk about. We've had Cannabis here for a while, being very patient.
He's probably just sitting there toking it up right now. He's just like, hell, it's 420 time for me. Fuck it.
Isn't that always?
Oh, yeah.
It's 420 somewhere, guys.
Yeah, we can come back to this conversation too, and you're welcome to stay for the time being as well, Polly. Okay, anyway, so yeah, Cannabis, you got anything you want to bring up or talk about?
Yeah, what you got?
All right. Let's see. Oh yeah. Let's talk some video. Let's calm down on the drama a little bit and all the. What do you think of Fallout 4 PC mods are coming to consoles? What do you think about that?
Really?
PC mod. What is this again? Can you repeat that one more time?
Fallout 4 PC mods?
Are coming to Xbox, coming to Xbox Ones first, but they're coming to the consoles. What do you think about that?
I think it's great that they're going to bring the mods. I mean, that's one of the reasons why Skyrim was boring on the consoles, is I couldn't get mods on the console, but I could get them all over the PC. Because let's face it, though, the modders made Skyrim a much better game than it was when it came out. I know I had fun with that, especially because I had a mod that let me turn people into sweet rolls.
That's amazing. I want to play it now just for that.
It was awesome.
I also saw some 40K mods for the game too. I was like, okay, all right, I can get into this now.
Yeah, I found someone made a chain sword and bolt pistol, and I think I even found a one mod that was like several different suits of power armor for like blood angels and salamanders and everything like that. That was pretty cool.
Well, that's definitely the first I heard about that anyway.
So,
Yeah,
but anyway, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Candace.
No. Oh no. Well, I'm gonna enjoy it because the PC I have is more or less a toaster, and I think it's great that Bethesda decided to say, hey, we have a decent amount of console players. Let them have some fun. Let them use some mods. I just can't wait. Let's just wait and see. We might have some really creative ones.
Personally, I would hope that maybe they would create. I mean, granted, they would be watered down like crazy, but I think it'd be cool if they would allow some form of modding tools for the console players to just use on the consoles themselves. I don't know if that's possible.
That's definitely one of the advantages to being a PC master race. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, I know. I feel you. It's just like Cannabis here. My PC is mainly no better than a toaster when it comes to gaming. So. I'm usually consoles what I got to stick with.
Yeah.
But anyway, what else is up, Cannabis? What else you got for us, sir?
What else? Okay, let's begin quickly about GamerGate related. What do you think of the UN retracting the Zoe Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian report? I was kind of shocked that they
retracted it.
Off their website. Well, maybe I'm using the wrong word. Maybe I'm using the wrong word. They took it off their website. Maybe that's.
Well, that would be retracting. If they removed it from the website, that would be retracting. Because let's just face it, that report was a piece of hot garbage.
I mean, there's a possibility that they took it down because they wanted to fix all the crap that was in there, like citing the C drive and that kind of thing. But I don't know.
I see no issue with citing a C drive.
Well, there was Zoe Quinn got interviewed or put in her opinion about that report, and she herself was like completely accosted by that report too.
Wait, sorry, say that again?
Zoe Quinn, there was an article that came out that Zoe Quinn was involved with in it, and she put in her opinions about that article or about that report. Yeah, and she had said she didn't get a chance to read the report beforehand, and that she herself agreed that it was just a piece of complete garbage.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people.
Yeah, well, she was actually upset about them bringing up video games being violent and all that in there. She was like, "What the fuck? This isn't what I was trying to talk about." And shit.
Does she ever listen to what she says?
This is something that a lot of people have been talking about, where it seems like more and more often Zoe Quinn is being used, without her actually really, having, a sort of say in how she gets portrayed in this whole deal. So, like, say what you want about her, but I think in this case of the UN, she was definitely just used as a poster child. So I think that was, I think that was the case here with that UN thing. Neither her or Anita wrote that. It was just they were there to talk about cyber violence.
Yeah,
it definitely goes to show that they do not pay attention to a damn word they say that comes out of the mouth. Because if you watch it, and I only caught a part of it too, by the way. If you're watching at any point when Anita is talking, Zoe Quinn is right beside her, just nodding her head along every now and then whenever she makes a point here and there. It's like you were there. You were in agreement with half of the stuff she's saying, and here you are now.
I think at that point it's like you just nod your head, because if you are disagreeing at that point, you're not part of the team. you don't go all the way to the UN and then like realize that you have no idea what's going on, and then like I don't know, they wouldn't she wouldn't decide then to disagree, because then you just look like a big idiot. Like, how did you get this far and then not know what you're talking about? So you just nod your head and pretend like you know what you're talking about until later, when you realize what's really up. So I think that was the case there. She just kind of bullshitted it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was gonna say the backpedaling is real.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's backpedaling for sure.
I was watching somebody else's commentary about all this. I can't remember who. It might have been Margaret Belly's video, actually, if anybody else saw that.
Margaret Belly.
I watched that. That was a pretty fun video to watch. She almost threw the entire airport's law thing in there, and that was absolutely amazing.
It was a beautiful piece of work. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it was her video, actually, where she was saying that at this point it seems that she started something that she has no way to back out of now at this point. She just goes along with it purely because she can. And it definitely comes across that way to me, at least. Not just her either, but Zoe Quinn as well, and maybe even Harper, but specifically Anita in that case.
Well, I know Harper. She had some very choice words about the whole ordeal herself in the report. She was quite livid about it as well, and she was like angry tweeting on that shit too.
SJW cat fight. Oh yes, it's gonna be so good. Oh, by the way, have you guys seen?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ollie.
Have you guys seen that comic? Basically, Saki and Queenie crying in front of the podium while behind her was women from Africa and Islamic states getting abused and that kind of stuff. Have you seen that drawing? That drawing was god tier.
Yeah, I saw that. Was pretty hilarious. Some of the comics that have been coming out of there have been great.
And a lot of people are non-gamers and the normies are actually getting pissed off by these two women, which is a glorious sight to see.
Well, the thing is like Anita actually went in front of the UN and said, harassment isn't just the legal stuff, it's also people telling me that my work sucks. It's like, really? Look, I'm allowed to tell you suck, okay?
Yeah, I would have to say that was kind of weird, and I think, personally, and this is pure speculation, this is absolute pure speculation, but I think she did take her speech or whatever to other U.S. politicians, and she made that statement, oh, harassment is not just, death threats or doxing or whatever that, but harassment is also telling you suck or making videos about you, criticizing your work. I think U.S. politicians heard that, and one can only look at the tweets U.S. politicians get. Well, look at not a politician, but he was running for president, Donald Trump. Look at the tweets he gets. I say, die, motherfucker, go fuck yourself. You suck. That's about 50% of his the tweets he gets. So, according to Anita's definition, Donald Trump also is a victim of quote unquote cyber violence, but is he up in the progressive stack enough to be considered a victim of cyber violence?
Well, see, that's one of the things that I was bringing up a while back when I talked about the UN stuff was that, hey, this is a two-way street. You can sit there and say, I don't like being told I suck. Well, someone else that you don't like could say you don't like being told they don't like being told they suck, and that's harassment. It works both ways. When they want to bitch about something, we can claim it's harassment. So it's ridiculous what she was talking about there. I don't even understand Anita. She's just a puppet for all I care.
Pretty much how she comes across.
So anyway, what else is on the agenda, guys?
So yeah, we have QQ in here now.
Yes, QQ's here. So now Nurgle's gonna get naked.
No. Let's avoid that. That's something I look forward to. So yeah, Q, welcome on, buddy. It's the first time I get a chance to speak with you.
Nice to finally meet you. I've heard you on streams before. We've just never interacted outside of Twitter, so great to meet you.
Oh yeah. So I think most people here are pretty familiar with you, but just to make sure, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
He's E-Celeb now.
Oh yeah, man.
He tried to kill GamerGate.
Yes. I'm the QQ. I've basically took over, impromptu took over making the recap videos when Socks retired. So that's what I've been doing. Although my latest recap video is extremely late and is going to be even later. So
Shame on you then.
That's on set, sir. On set.
yeah, I've started having people ask me, "Where's the video, Jim?" So I know it's late.
I had no idea Socks would be tired from doing her videos.
She switched her format from a weekly recap to a more of a streamed format. So I saw that there was a hole in the video market, I guess you could say, and I decided to fill it because I missed Sox's videos. I used to really like them. So
She always had a very sexy voice.
Well, there was that, and QQ does a great job of filling that.
QQ's is sexier.
You know, I attracted a somewhat different type of clientele with regards to sexy voice. So
I know you brought the Lord of Death and Disease into that.
We meet the yellow peril. I'm sorry.
This is the cast of people with voices we have going on here.
It is an interesting cast of voices we got.
All right, so yeah. So, do you have anything interesting to bring up today? Anything you want to talk about?
well, we were talking about the UN report thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
Yeah.
I found it very interesting the method that they decided. They didn't really retract it. They just removed any reference to it that it had ever happened. It's like they felt guilty about it. They didn't even want to make an official statement. It's just gone now, trying to erase it from history.
Oh, well, that's even better.
Yeah.
Just quietly hide their shame.
It's also interesting to see some of the rhetoric that Anita Sarkeesian was fielding. The concept of a whole bunch of people performing a certain action that if an individual were to perform it would not be considered harassment. But
Yeah.
since a whole bunch of people are performing it simultaneously, it comes across as harassment. Defining that as being a form of harassment is something that I keep seeing them field over and over again, which
Well, that was first. That concept was first came up during the 10 hours walking around New York, getting harassed, or by getting hit on or whatever by dudes. That video.
Wasn't that a bunch of horse shit?
Well, after that video happened, there's been a ton of that kind of idea that a lot of people that happen to do the same thing are like harassers by participating in doing a very mundane, not horrible, action.
Look, let's face
I would
it.
like to.
Oh, go ahead,
Go ahead,
Cannabis.
Nurgle.
Go ahead. No,
No,
go ahead,
go ahead,
Cannabis.
Nurgle.
Okay, well, let's face it.
Well,
Holy shit.
go ahead. Go ahead. I'll mute myself. Go ahead.
Aye, sir. Let's face it. We're talking about a group of people that simply say, you saying I disagree with you is harassment, okay?
Well-
This is the logic we're dealing with here.
well, that's because they have a very special way that they define harassment. Harassment is
Definitely
not something
special.
that is performed. It's something that's felt. In other words, what determines if an action is or is not harassment is whether the person who the action was performed on feels harassed.
Yeah, it's your perception.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Q, but Cannabis, what did you have to say, by the way?
Well, more of the comment about the video, the catcalling video. I explained to an older family member of mine. I won't, I'm not going to dox myself to say who it is, but it was an older family member, female family member of mine, and I asked her, that catcalling's harassment now. And this particular older family member of mine, if you see pictures of her in the 50s and 60s, dude, she was a knockout. And I'm speaking as a guy that likes to swing for the same team. Also, but here's the point. When I explained to her this particular family member about the concept of stair rape. You know what I'm talking about, guys? The concept of quote-unquote stair rape.
Wait, is that real? I thought that was like a parody.
I don't think so.
I could have swore that was a real thing, actually.
It is a real thing.
I've even heard telepathic rape before.
And she just couldn't stop laughing. I said, I told her it's now sexual harassment for a man to rubberneck and just look at a woman now. And now
That's like
that's
the whole
considered
male gaze
harassment. Yeah. Yeah, and I think American Dad did an episode on it, and now they did it was parodied by saying, well, I laughed at it myself, but now we live in a society where a heterosexual man can't just look at a beautiful woman now. It's considered harassment, and I really feel sorry for you guys.
I don't
I
give a
really
fuck.
do.
If she's hot, I'm gonna look at her.
It is hard to be a straight male now. Straight male sexuality is treated like a piece of shit. I'll shut up now.
Alrighty then.
I'll just add in that it is really difficult to tell where the parodies begin and the sincere people end. That pose law thing it's awful. It's hard to actually try to interpret like who's being legit and who's not. There's that one account that's been going around on Twitter lately who's been ruffling a lot of feathers. I can't remember the name, but I think somebody here was talking about it in chat earlier, and I was following the comments of the account, and it came across to me as a complete troll, like 100%. And
Oh,
to me
I know
it was
who it
really
was.
to me it was really obvious, but everybody else is just arguing with this person for like hours at end, like.
No, it was obvious that they were a troll because they said something turfy. They sounded like a trans exclusionary radical feminist, and yet they were trying to pretend to be an SJW. You
Do you
can't do
remember
that.
that account?
They hate each other. Yes, I do. And the thing that they said is that there are no women in GG. There are only men and trans women, which is
I
a
remember that.
turfy statement because
Yes, I remember seeing
it
that
is
comment.
saying that trans women aren't women. No SJW would say that statement, so it became obvious that it was a troll.
That's not true, actually. Because I know quite a few people who actually are, very much into the whole social justice thing, but they still go along with they don't quite agree
That's
so
actually-
much when it comes to the transgender issues. Like
That's actually a fracture point. That
Yeah, it very much is. My fiance tells
exploited.
me about that a lot. How much of a
Yes.
divisive issue it is.
Yes, and it's something that SJWs have false solidarity about, and it really shows. If you have friends who are trans people, they get treated very differently by different SJWs. It's very interesting. There's no real agreement on that. They just pretend to agree.
Yeah, I've actually kind of noticed that.
Well, we already know if you don't agree with something they say, you're thrown out of the cult.
Somewhat,
Well,
yes.
there's this one radical feminist. She's known as the anti-trans person, and her name is Janice Raymond. I dropped a link in the chat. She's on Wikipedia if you want to. She has a book called The Transsexual Empire, and basically she is, and this is her now, she's legitimate. She is basically the leading voice of saying trans women are not women. They're men invading female spaces. In fact, there was a debate between a trans woman and a conservative lesbian. I actually had conversation with this conservative lesbian. She's a nice woman. I disagree with her on the trans issue, and she would say, trans women are invading, all women's spaces, and this is an outrage, and yada yada yada. So there is a anti-transgender element to the SJWs. They're a minority, but it's still there, and they're still quite loud, and they're still quite noticeable.
If you wanted to be an unscrupulous bastard, one of the things that you could do is you could start seeding that fracture point among their community. Again, this is something that you would have to make a personal decision to do. I'm not advocating for it, but if you wanted to sow dissent, then that is something that could be done.
I like that. Not advocating.
Okay. Let's see. Before we get no further, Fox, do we have anybody else ready to come in yet?
We can bring someone if you. We can bring someone in if you want.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Holly, if you would go ahead and just step out.
Yep, no problem. And it's almost time for me to
Polly.
step up anyway.
Oh yeah, thanks again, man.
Polly,
And if,
I gotta say something, Polly, before you go. I have to ask because the chat's been saying it here and there. Can you say "get to the chopper"?
Get to the chopper.
Yes, you
Yes.
are amazing. Thank you, sir.
Oh my God, you guys are.
You have a good night, Polly.
Thanks. Oh, by the way, I have one last thing to say about what
hold on.
Margaret.
Actually, before you go, let me just say that there's probably gonna be a chance for you to come on again later on. So if you want to stick around and talk a little bit more about Star Citizen, you're more than welcome to.
Oh, no problem. I just want to say Margaret Bailey did it. Toasty! Okay, thank you.
That's
good.
Have a good
This is great. All right, so yeah, I'm bringing some people in.
All right, I did want to bring up one more thing with regards to this harassment being received instead of given while they're getting set up. Something you'll notice if you look at things like Randy Harper's tool, or the GG Auto Blocker, or the Blockbot, the Atheism Plus Blockbot. They are tools that are not equipped to handle that, because they are designed to prevent people from speaking, from saying certain things. They are not designed, or from interacting within certain communities. Like GG Auto Blocker is basically guilt by association. They are not designed to protect people hearing things that they dislike. And if you're to truly make a tool that to prevent the kind of harassment that they keep bandying on about, it would have to be designed very differently. I find it interesting that they say one thing and then do another. I think we have a word for people like that.
Crazy people.
I was thinking more hypocrite, but crazy works too.
Yes,
Hypocrite's fun, but I like crazy better.
Okay, so let's see. We now have Demented joining us.
Hello, Demented. How are
Hello.
you tonight?
I am sexy. I mean, I'm good.
It's okay to feel sexy. I'm Nurgle. I always feel sexy.
I don't know if I'm quite too comfortable with that, so let's go ahead and start talking a little bit.
All right.
We're gonna get naked up in here.
Let's save that for later.
No nakedness. I was just saying I feel sexy, but whatever. although obviously I probably don't look sexy right now.
It's all right, sir.
You guys be
It's all right.
careful. There's a Milo in the chat if you know what I mean. So be careful.
Ooh, there's a Milo in the chat.
Oh my
Wait, Milo is here? As in the Milo?
Nah, that'd be fantastic, but...
That would be fantastic. He's a fabulous man.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
a lot of them right now are busy with the DJ in LA, with Milo alums there, and Law Southern.
Yeah, they got kicked out of the slut walk.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
They're too slutty for the slut walk.
So what's on your mind, Demented?
Oh, nothing much. I'm just playing with cards. And, earlier this week, I actually got blocked by the guy who made the comic. I showed Verdisi the tweet, and he agreed with me. I was just asking a question, and the guy got all butthurt and just blocked me.
Which comment are you which comic are you talking about?
The comic where there's a guy by the computer. Then it's 3 years later, Anita and Zoe.
Oh yeah,
and
okay.
I'm guessing it's.
What
Oh,
was his
yeah.
name again?
The creator of the comic got really slightly ass-pained about the people making all the edits.
Oh, I hope you saw mine then. I loved mine.
Is that the one where it ends with Anita riding a sandworm?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that the one we're talking about? Yeah, I saw some crazy edits for
I
that.
will be honest with you. I didn't get the last panel. I mean, what was?
I don't think anybody did.
It's a Dune reference.
Yeah,
Apparently.
but why? How did
That's
that
what I figured.
go to that?
So that is actually the big problem that I have with it. Is it's pretty much a non sequitur. The thing that what would have made the comic funny is they could have even left the first panel, which is something that I disagree with politically, right? Because one of the things that the comic author said is, well, people are just editing it to make it agree with their political views. No, not necessarily. You could have left the first panel, which is something that I disagree with politically, and changed the last panel, and it would have been funny. The reason why it was not funny is it did not play off of the fears that people actually have with regards to people like Anita Sarkeesian. People don't fear Anita Sarkeesian because they think she's going to become ruler of the known universe or whatever, or commit mass genocide. That's not a fear that people have. The fear that people have with regards to her is a much more likely one. This is why when people like Jim Sterling say she's not Voldemort, it comes across as being condescending as well. The fears people have is that she overapplies cultivation theory and theories similar to it, and that it's going to lead to the act of private censorship. If the last panel had been, say, a dictator that is known for censorship or something like that instead, it would have been funnier because that is the actual fear that people have. Putting something like that in just seems like a non sequitur because it's out of touch. It's not reflecting the things that people are actually worried about.
QQ. I know. People used to underestimate Hitler too before he took power, and look what happened. People actually laughed at him. So there you go.
Well, I really doubt we have anything like that to worry about. But here's what kills me the most. What gets on my nerves is when somebody makes a jab at us, or anybody in particular, and they just have really crappy humor. Like it's not funny in any kind of context.
Yeah, kind of like that anime thing where it just was like, really, fucking really, it wasn't even funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can appreciate a joke at all expense, at my own personal expense, but at least make it funny, something actually good and worth laughing at. Then,
I honestly
then I can go along with it.
Was there supposed to be any? Because I really didn't get it. Like, was there supposed to be any sort of punchline that was actually constructed out of that? Like, could you give him the benefit of the doubt and find something that might have made?
Well, what they were trying to say is that all the people who are sending the nasty letters to her are giving her more power, and the more that they do that, the more power that they give her, regardless of whether the gaming community likes her or not. That is what is elevating her. That is what they're trying to say.
I mean, there's some sort of sense to that, but it doesn't have like a punchline. So, all right.
Like I said, if the last panel had been something playing off people's actual fears, it would have been funnier.
You see, if we had... the thing is, though, if we had ignored her in the past, if she had been ignored and nobody had bothered with her in the past, that probably would have worked. But now she's gained so much popularity and so much momentum that you can't ignore her anymore.
Well,
she has people paying to come and watch her, and then she has people like, she gets pulled into EA to have, her weighing in on the comments and stuff like that too. Like, it may not drastically affect things like immediately or even for like that specific game, but it still worms its way into the industry and gets the false impression that what she says brings out true for everything.
Yeah, if I could go a little tinfoil for a while, after
we
watching
need some X-Files music now.
I guess it's going that way no matter what. No.
After watching things like Think Serious, I don't think if she had been completely ignored by the gaming community, I still think that she would be just as much of a speaker and consultant as she is now, because I think that there are people pushing her, not gamers pulling her. I think that she's being pushed because she says things that are convenient for certain people.
I could agree to that, actually.
Glenn Beck, I got to see Glenn Beck backing her up. Video games are evil, and
tough stuff.
I can tell you what I suspect she's trying to push, which is the idea that games can have a profound influence on people's behavior.
Which we all know that's bullshit, but whatever.
There's a lot of money behind that idea right now.
Of course there is.
Yeah.
Okay, before we go any further, Cannabis, unless you have anything else to say, I'm going to ask if you might cycle out. We'll have our next guy speak up.
Sure. My last statement will be I do host a GamerGate stream every Monday, 8 to 11 p.m. Pacific time.
Fuck you. There
It's
you
called
go.
the GamerGate Smokeout Session. And with that, you gentlemen, have a nice day.
Oh, you
Have
too,
a good
buddy.
night. Be sure.
I'm sorry.
What in the world?
Oh, hey, can you mute your microphone?
Yeah, I got him.
All right,
He's
cool.
Cool.
All right,
That was
so
a little crazy.
it's a little unusual. So
All good.
let's see, we got Primus in here now. I know you've been wanting to get on for some time.
Yeah, last week my internet wasn't too good. Was working on 3G dongle. Can you guys hear me well?
Yep.
Yes.
Alright, sweet.
Love the
Yeah, no, I'm just some South African dude. Joined GamerGate not too long ago.
Okay, quick question.
Just decided I wanted to come on for... Yeah.
Wait, you don't speak Kikongo, do you?
No, I do not.
I think we're safe here then.
God.
No, I just plug my internet into Lions. That's how I get them going. No. But yeah, I don't know. Anita seems to kind of she's becoming less relevant. Sure, the UN thing was kind of big, but people saw more of her bullshit because of it.
Well, when the normies start noticing that kind of insanity, it does start to go south for people like that. I mean, after E3, a lot of the devs that were like all for her were like, no, we're gonna step away over this way from her because of the crazy shit she was saying on Twitter about Doom and Bethesda's conference.
Yeah, I think when she started jumping to those little conclusions there, when it, bridging the gap between violence and video games, a lot of people kind of picked up on the crazy. She was actually chilling for the first time.
Well, I mean, the thing is it brought back a lot of hateful memories of the Jack Thompson days, and let's just face it, those are coming back more and more because of some of the crazy shit she has been saying.
Well, I just have to bring up Zoe Quinn's whole thing that she said recently, where she said, well, if you don't want the government to step in, private companies, you need to step up your game and start
Yeah.
your platforms. Do you know what that reminds me of, and will remind a whole bunch of other people of?
Oh Lord, I
Is
think I know
the
this
comics code, because that
Yes.
was exactly that. It was a private group stepping up to police the platform of the comics industry, so that the government didn't step in because they were threatening to. So if that's the tack you're going to take, if that's the rhetoric that you're going to field, good luck, because I know a whole bunch of people who are going to see right through that.
Yep, and that comics code that almost killed the comics industry, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, hopefully it doesn't come to that, but right now at least I doubt it would. But it's best to be on guard for just that kind of situation, because if it did happen, we would be witnessing the beginning of such things now with that kind of talking from these people.
Yep. So Primus, what else you got on your mind, sir?
Not a lot. Now that we're past most of the other bullshit that's come up, but let's talk about where GG should go from here. I know that's a sensitive topic for many.
It can be, but yeah, why not? It's entirely open to discussion.
Right, the way I see it, first it needs to define a goal. So if the whole journalistic ethics thing wants to go forward, then we'd have to go past simply games, which would actually require, and don't put me on a cross here, but that would actually require dropping the tag and not taking up any name whatsoever, since we actually do have our networks and we do have our groups. But that's only for the pushing of ethics. There are other things that GamerGate can go into as well, other directions it can take.
Well, the problem when we've talked about the pushing of getting away from the tag plenty of times in previous streams and multiple times. I know I've had Q on my stream as well, and we've talked about that in the past. And the problem is that you just can't stop everyone from using the tag in lieu to being connected to ethics or SJWs or anything of that nature. I mean, you can get a few people to probably join your calls in that case, but for the most part, the tag is just always going to be consistently there. And I mean, like in my opinion, I always felt it was a way of just disseminating information. But there we do have a lot of people that are very passionate about GamerGate and that want to continue to identify being with the GamerGate movement or whatever you want to call it.
So, yeah, I could probably field this one because a lot of people think that I wanted to end the tag, which is not correct. So I could read that little thing that I said about why I don't think ending the tag would be a very good idea. It's a rather long piece, though. So,
could you give us a TLDR version of it?
Yeah, I can go through it point by point. Basically, GG is very individualistic, and every op that we field has voluntary participation. And participation levels are generally low. This doesn't matter because we have strength in numbers, but email campaigns, very small percent participate in them. If we're going to have agree to do something like end the tag, it's not going to work because you're never going to get enough people to agree. Also, no one really actually agrees on what the tag is for, and this has been one of our strengths. Instead of having a specific strategy, we basically field every strategy at once and see what succeeds and see what don't. If you can't really agree that something has ended its utility if no one agrees on what its utility is.
I have a point to argue. What I'm suggesting isn't so much a call to vote to end the tag, so much as it is to, if you want to forward journalistic ethics, then you're going to have to, you and your group, because let's face it, there are tribes, so to speak, within GamerGate. You and your group is going to basically have to distance yourself from the tag. Not end the tag itself. Whoever wants to use the tag is free to use the tag. But you want to go and you do that thing without the tag, because the tag is limiting. People's perceptions are already dead set at some point, thanks to the press.
Well,
what good does distancing yourself from the tag? I mean, like, for example, Lizzie, for some reason, got dragged into looking like another GamerGator just from writing this article.
Yeah, there is a case for I can say this. There is a case for like not using the tag on infographics, because most of the infographics that we're producing with regards to anything, journalistic impropriety is one thing that we produce infographics on. Something that's actually really popular outside of the GG community is the that comic about Anita and Zoe crying in front of the UN, things like that. We don't need to put the GG logo or the GG hashtag or anything like that on those infographics, because those have an appeal outside of
yeah, the moment we start bending stuff with GG anything, it comes across as, having some sort of, individual bias agenda or anything like that, or pushing a narrative of some kind of...
look like an organization.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody's going to want to pay attention. They'll just write it off as nothing without even reading the content.
Like, I had a guy on my Thursday night stream this past week who he was on there. He was very much kind of in the SJW camp, but the things he was telling me about it when we asked him about GamerGate was, he was like, I agreed with some of the stuff that GamerGate was talking about. I agreed with some of the stuff that they were trying to do, but I didn't want to involve myself with it because I don't want to be involved with the reputation that GamerGate has, as in, the narrative that's been spread about it.
Well, that is going to be part of the... there's an issue in GG right now. This is very much a personal view, where discussion of certain topics within gaming and within journalism both has been constrained to a very few select platforms, whereas previously discussion was allowed broadly. So, for instance, a thread today was deleted from our gaming because, that's a GamerGator problem. It should go on Kotaku and Action. Basically, we have been contained to very few discussion platforms, and discussion of certain issues has been contained to very few discussion platforms. This is a problem that we can solve by breaking that containment.
How would you
How
feel
exactly would you go about breaking the containment?
Well, it's going to be a very long process.
See, that's tough because in most cases with GamerGate, it's been other people describing what GamerGate is. So
brought up the term
other people defining you.
Yeah, straw hatting for that. I think it's might be appropriate. And like, instead of fielding a straw man, they're basically putting a straw hat on us and then using that to knock down our arguments.
Well, gentlemen, looks like we have the luck of the Irish with us tonight.
Hey, friend, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Well, lads, I have had a tremendous amount to drink tonight.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, this is gonna be good.
So...
Wait a minute, wait. Hold on. I thought you didn't drink.
I don't, but... like, on limited occasions I do, and there was this Greek brandy going around. And it was like... I'm grand, like, do you know what I'm saying? But I had like...
Well, let me just say, you have me jealous, because I'm ready to get my drink on too, but I'm waiting till after the stream.
You're waiting till after... You fucking pansy. What the fuck are you doing, like, waiting till after the stream to get it on? Do you know what, like, do you know what? Let me tell you something for nothing. Let me tell you something for nothing, Will, right?
Oh my god.
This is why you lot are losing the war against the worst examples of us, because let's fucking face it.
Alright.
I don't want to get too off topic here, as I'm using it as
Okay, fine. Whoa.
I know you always have very strong opinions, so do you have anything you want to bring up?
All right. What I want to bring up here, right? Let me tell you something for nothing what I want to bring up. This is what I want to bring up. Now, right, some people out there may tell you that GamerGate and all the shenanigans surrounding it are just something over nothing. But let me tell you, I'll tell you, right, that This infosphere has emerged over the last 10 years, and it is utterly brand new. And the strangest thing is, right? I'll tell you. No. You hear me out. The fact of the matter is that this infosphere is the first in a generation. Sorry, it's the first in a generation. And the craziest thing about it is that we live in an age where the average human being can access all of human learning. Excuse me. At the click, at the click of a button. And the scariest thing is, right? The single scariest thing is that governments have been wondering for a long time, how will they manage the free flow of information for an individual? And the saddest fact is that the individuals themselves have been forming bubbles to censor the information themselves. And that's the scary thing, is that we are doing the jobs that so many agencies have been scared of. We're doing it ourselves to each other. We should all be united in the share and flow of information, but instead we are forming tribal societies in controlling the information, and that's not right. We shouldn't be doing that. We should be united in flowing the information between all of us. So the strangest thing is that we are but a spark. We are but a small spark in a grander and much more diverse war, because the weirdest part is that you, me, they, all of us, Q as well, we are all actually taking part in something, not just for ourselves, but for the very people we're up against. Because let's face it, even the people we're up against are being used as sheep. They're being used as wallet fodder. They're being used to milk for their money. And the fact of the matter is that we want information for everybody.
It's true.
We want access of it for everybody. We want people to sit down and disagree with us, because through disagreement and through argument, through debate, that's how a human being develops. If you just surround yourself in an echo chamber, in people who just agree with you, what do you learn? You learn absolutely nothing.
All right, and
what is the point of that?
I want to just cut you off there so we can pick up on that. There's a lot to say about what you said, and it's very, very true. We learn nothing and we don't grow at all if we just silence everybody out and just cut them off without having any kind of engagement, without having any kind of discussion. There is no actual progress in societies and ourselves as individuals.
Yeah.
And
absolutely, like I'll always welcome, be they racist, be they Nazi, be they feminist, if they have an actual intellectual argument, if they have a point to argue. It's why I will always campaign. I'll always stand for somebody's ability to speak up, because if somebody has a twisted, monstrous ideology, why would you leave monsters in the dark? Monsters thrive in the dark. They grow in it. Drag them out in the light. Let them stand out there. Let people see them for what they are.
I think the UN was very much like that,
Yeah. I've said that. I've said as much myself before. The best thing you can do with people like that is let them be out in the public light. Let people hear the crazy shit they sometimes say, and it'll show for itself that what they say is often ridiculous. There's no reason to silence people if they. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I've always
even if you disagree with someone, even if I disagree with a feminist, or if a radical feminist, if they raise intellectual points that I can agree with, I grow as an individual. I grow as a person. I've sat down with white supremacists and anti-Islamists and neo-Nazis. I've spoken with Nick Griffin. I've spoken with Grand Masters of the Ku Klux Klan in my life. And the strangest thing is, if you allow people to voice the worst of what they think, they'll let you voice what you think. And if you get a dialogue going, if you let an exchange get going, and if the person is, there's a lot of factors.
Yeah, at the very worst, when you're discussing topics with people you disagree with, even if you severely disagree with them and have nothing in common with them, then you better learn and understand your own position and why it is you hold the views you do. Contrary to them.
Either that or you get shot.
It's funny when Pac-Man was being criticized because he was, quote-unquote, giving a platform to a hate group. Of course, talking about GG. It's like you do realize that David Pac-Man has had ex-grandmasters of the KKK on to talk. That's because he's a journalist and he wants to inform people about what everyone thinks.
Well,
It
now
doesn't matter.
He even had Westboro Baptist Church folks on his
The thing is, the fact of the matter is that human thinking, human ideology, and human interaction, it's unbelievably complex. The funny thing is that I've always argued there's a joke amongst Islam that a non-believer is halfway Muslim because half of the Islamic creed is there is no God. But the fact of the matter is that when you allow yourself to listen even to people you disagree with, even if it's trash, even if it's garbage, even if you think there's nothing to be had from it, even in fertilizer and manure, flowers can grow, ideas can grow, there's nuggets that you can extract from it. And people forget, so many individuals forget, that to respect someone is completely mutually exclusive to liking someone. You can respect someone for standing up for what they believe in. You can respect someone for the ideas that they have. But you don't need to like them. People misconstrue this fact altogether. You don't need to like an individual to respect them for their stance they hold. And if there's any advice I can give out to anybody is that, remember, liking somebody as an individual and respecting them for their intellectual ideas are two separate things. You can always mine and extract different ways of thinking, different perspectives, because human beings, we are all lumps of grey. If anything, if absolutely anything this whole Gamergate fiasco should teach someone, is that we are all grey. And from grey you can find a fucking lot. And when you find that, you can actually integrate it. It can help you develop as a person.
That's definitely true, and I've talked to a lot of people over the past couple of weeks, especially trying to organize these streams and get different people on who previously I hadn't really been speaking to, and who I mostly just argued with, and threw shit at, back and forth, and I have no particular issue with anybody as long as they're willing to sit down at some point and give a real benefit of a doubt, and discuss something in good faith. I'm much more interested in discussing topics with people than I am trying to debate or argue with them with anybody, because I feel like a lot more constructive stuff comes out of those dialogues. Because I think I mentioned it last week too. When you approach something as a debate, you come across very confrontational right off the bat, and you're really not listening or having any kind of true communication at that point.
Absolutely.
What did you say?
I would argue the point that debate is probably one of the pinnacles, one of the pillars of human society. If you think back on it, and you think back on the development of language and the development of culture, the ability to debate and the ability to argue with one another on intellectual points verbatim, or even just with our tongues alone, it stands to reason as our biggest development as a society and as a species, because any other species will go to war, and we still go to war, don't get me wrong, but our ability to stand and listen to somebody who disagrees with us rather than silencing them is probably one of the biggest things that separates us from animals and sentient, capable, cognitive beings, is that I disagree with this, I don't like it, but I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to dissect it. I'm going to take it apart into its component parts. I'm going to find the reasoning behind it. If there's any big danger, like Gamergate and the whole shenanigans behind it, it is but one single spark. There's a much bigger fire rolling right now. And whatever gripes I may have with the West as a Middle Easterner, the one thing I will always argue is that the freedom to argue ideals is a treasure that you guys cannot underestimate. Because even if you disagree with something, you can find nuggets and little ores of the ideas that you can extrapolate on and that you can advance. And as like Tyrion Lannister said, if you pull out the tongue of someone, you're not telling the world that he's a liar, you're telling them that you're scared of what they have to say. Like, I remember Nick Griffin wanted to give a lecture here in Dublin in Ireland, and people were campaigning against him. I couldn't understand why. I was like, yeah, grand. I've spoken with Nick Griffin. He's a neo-Nazi, and he has very, very deluded and twisted views. But why not let him speak? Why not let people speak? Because if you have nothing to fear from an ideology, if you feel that your argument is proof against it, let it out in the open. Let it all out. Let people dissect it.
It's 100%. There's nothing I can really add to that. I think you covered everything I had to say.
I just want to say that if one thing that we have problems with in GamerGate and with anti-pro whatever is that we have a lot of loud people that drown out the more moderate folks that are that actually bring up interesting points like Baz here. He tends to get drowned out by a large group of people that are just crazy. Or same with like some of the more antis that are more moderate towards us and are actually really nice and interact with us. They get drowned out by crazy people like Brianna Wu and all of them. So I think that's one of the keys is we need to just allow moderates to be more of a voice.
One thing that's important to kind of like take note of is like, well, or at least ask yourself is like, what is really moderate? Like, is it more moderate or is it just like more level-headed? Because at the end of the day, like some of the points don't seem to have like this position of being moderate. It's like, where are you moderate on censorship or harassment or whatever? It's like usually it's just people are more level-headed and can actually talk about things, and then you have non-level-headed people.
Something you learn a lot.
That's what I wanted to bring up because there tends to be this habit of equating moderation with level-headedness and craziness with being more extreme. I don't think that's quite true. I actually consider myself to be rather extreme because I hold very extreme views on free speech, but I tend to get fielded as the moderate because I'm well-spoken.
The funny thing is, Q, is that for all our Ralph retorts around, for everything around, we need every single facet, because the fact of the matter is, if you break us down to the most quantum level, ideas are intrinsic, ideas are metaphysical, they need to be allowed free collision. They need to be allowed collision. They're just saying, like I learned from my degree as well, that elastic and non-elastic collisions are vital to the understanding of chemistry. Collisions sometimes involve interactions, and some collisions involve no interactions and no change of energy. The fact is that these ideas need to be free to flow. They need to happen, because even if there's a bad idea, the nugget, the root of it, the seed of the idea can be analyzed and dissected, and it can give rise to new things. The strangest fact of the matter is that I will always let a person speak, even if I feel that their idea is absolutely wrong, because if you let a person speak and you respect that, they'll be willing to let you speak. And the biggest trial facing the Western world right now is that the rise of information technology, the rise of this accessibility of information. Imagine if Albert Einstein could be showed, Albert, with this device the size of my palm, I can access all of human learning. Can you imagine their reaction? Newton, Einstein, Curie, the founders of science. Can you imagine their reaction if that a device the size of our palm, we could access all of human learning, and yet we've made ourselves into tribes? The strangest thing is that there was always in the 1950s, especially with their cinema and art, there was the argument what technology would rise that would prove beyond the capability of mankind. The irony of it has been our infosphere of social media. It's the absolute big bang and collision of multitudes and diverse people. It's like, yes, we argue all the time about the every weekend arguments among GamerGate, for example, but if anything, that is the single most imperfect, perfect reaction of the most diverse people uniting over a similar principle of the free flow of information, constantly fighting. And I still wouldn't have it the any other way. It's like, yes, there's people you find distasteful. Yes, there's people you argue with. But at the same time, even the ones you argue with, you can pull out and extract the little nuances and intrinsic factors that led them to that point, because you're allowing them to speak. And if there's any threat to the Western world, it is the strangulation of allowing people to speak. I'll tell you straight up, I have a friend of mine for the last 10 years.
Okay. All right. But before we get into that, Let me see. First, I want to say Demented unfortunately has to leave us for now, so hopefully we'll have you on next time.
Absolutely.
See, last I saw you were still there, but anyway. And we have other people still waiting to come in, so yeah, Fox, if you want to go ahead and start bringing them in.
Yeah, will do.
Bring on the pain.
Also, Demented Gam, who made a comment there, how much do I read? My friend, I have gotten books as birthday presents for the last 12 years. My parents made a very strict theory of comparative religious study alone, so when I moved to Ireland, I had a big understanding of the Catholic history and Christian history before I came into the country even and got settled in. So, it gives an understanding of how different demographics approach the same quandary. But yes, Vey, continue. Apologies, my friend.
Oh, it's all good, man. Just trying to get some other people in here is all.
Would you like me to exit the party, or will I just keep silent while other people speak?
You can stay for now. Go ahead and add comments in as necessary.
Absolutely.
Just make sure to keep them nice and short.
Of course.
Are you silencing the Muslim?
Listen.
I apologize.
I'm all free speech. No, I like what you said. I pretty much agree with everything you did say.
Yeah, there was nothing I could disagree with. I found, off-putting in a kind of way. It basically mirrors my own sentiments on a lot of those same topics.
Yes.
Okay, so while we get our next Anon in here to rotate out, does anybody else have anything else they want to bring up?
Yeah, who else we got left in here? We got Primus and Q still up in here, so you guys got anything else?
Give me a second. I've got something boiling in my head. I just need to put it together.
Okay, here's something I'll go ahead and throw out there. And let's see, I'll try to keep this as non-descriptive as possible because I don't feel like getting into anything really, as far as drama and that goes. But something I have noticed over the past couple of months, at least from my own observation. That's what I'm looking for. Is that there are people within the community who are extremely pushy with certain views they have, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with challenging others on different opinions or different views or anything like that. But when there's an issue, I think, when the first way you approach them on any kind of topic is to label them as anything, derogatory in any kind of way, and write them off in that manner. And we spoke about this a little bit last week too, in the frame of writing people off as ethics cucks or SJWs or anything like that. And there's just no arguing in good faith when you approach somebody like that. And I am more than happy, to talk to anybody about any subject and any length if I have the time, of course. But when you approach people with that kind of attitude, there's going to be nothing constructive to come out of it. It already shows that you are not willing to listen to what they're going to say in response. And it's something to definitely work on. It's something I think the community needs to look out for, essentially, because when that happens, when people have that kind of attitude, then it really is no better than the very people we love to bitch about all the time, essentially.
Yeah. Exactly what I was about to say is it's ironic because people basically dismiss GamerGate by labeling it GamerGate. It's the exact same thing, and I just it's deplorable, honestly. It feels like as GamerGate goes on, people start moving more strongly towards their own views and away from other people's views, and it feels like less of a discussion. There's less free thinking, essentially.
Yeah, it's a form of identity politics. I used to call it outgroup boxing and labeling. I've also seen it called straw hatting. Basically, what they do is they take something that they don't like GG, they turn it into a pejorative label. They also did this with MRAs, by the way. Then they find people that they dislike. They slap that label on them, and then they perform fallacy of composition and hasty generalizations to assume that every negative trait that they've established that group to have extends across every member of that group, including the people that they've slapped the label on.
And I'm discussing this in terms of people within the GamerGate community, too, going after other people in that kind of same way. And
yes,
in my opinion, this is far more destructive than any kind of bitch fest drama you might see on the weekend kind of deal too. Because when you go after people in that same kind of derisive manner, that breaks all bridges of communication, and it separates the networks we have.
You see this when people get labeled as GG Revolt just because they don't like that person's ideas, or they get labeled as being a part of this clique or that clique just because you don't like their ideas, even if they're not even a part of that. Like, I've been labeled as a member of the defunct group Triangles, and I have never been a member of a group called Triangles, but it's being used to discredit my ideas. So that is a form of identity politics, and
yeah,
it's effective.
Q, stop lying. We all know you're part of the Illuminati.
Yes.
See, I got to admit.
The funny thing is that you can't establish yourself as a thinker or as an intellectual or somebody who's entirely objective if you actually allow yourself to be exposed to it's as Voltaire said, if you want to learn the truth, study the people you aren't allowed to praise. So even if people disagree with QQ, it's why I get along with so many people, is that even if somebody says, I don't like this person, I don't agree with this person, I need to step back and look in the third person. What does this person have to say? What is the root thinking behind it? And if there's anything I can say to especially younger teenagers or the younger lads and ladies within GamerGate is to take away, dissect the ideas you hear. Figure out their root cause. And that is why GamerGate and the people taking part in it are a small spark in a much bigger fire. Because take it from me, after over 14 years growing up in a post-9/11 world, the single most dangerous thing for people is the person who stands their ground and says, I need to question this. Question everything. Nothing is absolute truth.
You always should. Even when you come at somebody and with a completely different opinion, you should always be one to just question, at least, or at the very least, give some consideration to what they're saying. Even if you've seen it a million times, if you're going to take the time to argue with them and try to convince them of whatever you're saying, you should return the favor. It's not that hard.
And this is why we should resist top-down policing of speech on the internet, which is something that's being pushed through right now. It's actually really funny because Randy Harper didn't like the UN report. Zoe Quinn didn't like the UN report. They don't realize that they're being used as tools to push that kind of agenda, this anti-speech agenda. They think that they can get their way without them being used by higher authorities to push that agenda. They're wrong.
Yeah.
Because that's all that it's going to be.
Yeah. Before we go on any further, we have a new guest in here, John.
What's up, John? How are you today?
Hey.
Good.
So welcome, and why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit, and go ahead and bring up a new topic for us.
Hello, my name is John. I guess the only big topic this week was the thing with Polygon and the book.
Oh yes, Phil Owens. I know exactly what you're mentioning.
Yeah, that guy is complete ass clowning. Let me just put that out there.
He accused me of making a conspiracy image and spreading it around when I was actually right to ask the question in the image. So I thought that was funny. I was the one who made the image that with all the arrows pointing at Polygon staff, going, "Why does Polygon not want you to know who it is?" And he was like, "Why did you make that conspiracy image about me?" I don't remember his exact words. That's a paraphrase, but it turns out that I was somewhat right to be suspicious.
I don't blame you. It was kind of silly. I mean, the article itself was just this big fluffy piece about the book, and then it was kind of odd that it's just Polygon staff. Well, why are they keeping this guy secret?
What was in the article?
It was. This is what it was. It was a italicized portion at the top that introduced the books and contained links to where you could buy it. It introduced the books in what I would say relatively positive leaning terms. It wasn't neutral. And then beneath that was a large excerpt from the book. I believe it might have even been the entirety of a chapter. I could be wrong about that, though. The issue is that Polygon's traditional format has been, if they're printing a book excerpt, they just credit Polygon staff. The issue that I saw is that this was basically a product endorsement, and we did not know who in Polygon staff was deciding to endorse the product. Well, some digging was done, and it turns out that the author was rather buddy-buddy with some members of Polygon staff in the past. And once all this had come to light, the article was actually modified to reveal that that italicized section was written by the author of the book, and yet it was written in the third person as if it was not written by the author of the book. So,
Which was hilarious.
yeah.
I mean, I was guessing that either like maybe he paid to just have an excerpt put in, and then they just said, okay, just write it up for us, and we'll put it in there.
Yeah, apparently.
Or it was just like he just pulled in a favor, and then the person just said, okay, just write it up for us, and we'll throw it in there.
Yeah, that was what was suspicious is if it was a paid promotion, it was not disclosed. If it was a favor, it was not disclosed either.
Yeah.
Does anybody here remember, before the advent of the internet, does anybody here remember like getting monthly or weekly subscriptions to printed magazines?
I used to get Nintendo Power way back in the day.
All the time.
Nintendo Power broke this, man.
The thing is that what we are witnessing is in very many ways but a small fraction of humans trying to adapt to a rise of technology. Because I remember when I was young, Play Magazine, for instance, Play UK, was the be-all and end-all for me for reviews on PlayStation games and all that jazz. But with the rise of information technology, lads, has advanced faster than we can appreciate. Because let's face it, all of us, we can remember the first mobile phones we owned, correct?
Yeah, not to be rude, by the way, but
I used to rock a pager.
Yeah, not to be rude though, Raz. If you could kind of get to the point of what you're talking about here.
The point what I'm meaning is that technology has advanced so fast and the interactivity has advanced so fast that it's been very overwhelming. And to keep objectivity has become extremely difficult. And on a small scale, on a very, very kind of quote-unquote mundane level, we can see the failings of it within the video game journalism alone, or within the expression of speech at the same time alone within the media scene. We can see it on our level. If it's failing on our level, because some people argue the point, what's the point of video game journalism? It's such a small thing. But if you can't have arbitrary and honest kind of perspective within such a small scale, it's only going to exponentially add up in the bigger scale, because if it's failing here on this level, on such something you quote-unquote consider small, Jesus, can you imagine the stumbles we're having on the bigger scale of things?
Well, that's exactly what WikiLeaks said towards the outset of GamerGate, if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really not surprising. But yeah, what really blew me away is that I was always under the impression that there was always some level of dishonesty and corruption and outright lies being spread around. I mean, everybody's familiar with Fox News, of course, right? Everybody looks at them and goes, "Hey, what a joke!" But the sheer depth of it all and how far it goes and how deep it really is, that's the part that really caught my eye and attention when this kind of stuff came up. There doesn't seem to be quite any end to it, and no low too low to go to, essentially.
I just want to bring something up, if possible, and
yeah,
it's going to be from the past. The Polygon article. I watched Total Biscuit's video on it. Maybe some of you had.
I heard about it. Yeah. You said you agreed with some of the stuff it said.
Yeah, and I watched and I had to agree as well. The idea that certain aspects of the video game sort of draw you out of the artful type, like for instance. What was the example?
He used The Last of Us for an example.
Yeah. Using the thing breaking immediately. It's video game logic, sure. It doesn't mean the entire thing's not an experience of art. It's in fact it's the only kind of art of its kind, really, because it's interactive. And the point was also made that it's also the only type of art that doesn't let you advance forward unless you beat it, unless you're good enough, which I find was a funny comparison. But the thing is that it does in fact certain things do in fact draw you out of art, dependent. I watched an extra credits video a while ago, And yes, I know we hate them, blah blah blah. But
I used to actually really like them.
oh wait, yeah, no, sorry, it wasn't Extra Credits. It was the Game Theorist.
Okay, so
Game Theorist, right? he drew comparisons between the uncanny valley in video games, where you'll be more easily pulled out of a more realistic video game if something weird happens with the game, like a glitch or a wall thing, because you're projecting onto that game, you're projecting reality onto that game. So when something weird happens that wouldn't happen in real life, that kind of pulls you out of it. Whereas caricatures, like if you're playing Super Mario or Smash Bros, it doesn't feel that weird because you're not comparing it to real life.
He's bringing up, or Phil Owen at least, when he's talking about that kind of stuff, he's bringing up something that's been discussed a lot with video games.
That's my main critique with the book. Is you can go back and you can read Edge magazine from 2002 and 2003, and they're already having the ludology versus narratology debate.
Yeah,
they're already coming down in favor of narratology, just like this latest book does. It's nothing new. There's not a single new thing in the book. And with regards to Total Biscuit's response, I am going to pronounce this name wrong, so he will have to forgive me. I would also suggest that you read Adrian Kmirlarge. I believe that. Kmirlarge.
Can you spell that?
That was so butchered.
No, I cannot spell that. I would suggest you also read that as well, because he has some agreements and some disagreements, and I thought that his view was a lot more nuanced than Total Biscuit's.
Okay, well, let's see. Oh, I guess here, John. He's the one who brought up the article itself, and want to see if he had anything he wanted to add on to it. We kind of stole it away from him.
Yes.
No, he pretty much said it all.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, like ludonarrative dissonance has been a thing that people talked about, and it's you can't really get away from that in a lot of cases, because at the end of the day, the decision is, do I make a game or do I make a story? Like what is gonna take priority here? And if game developers, they prioritize gameplay usually, so you're always gonna have some element that doesn't stay, that doesn't mesh with reality. And the point is to make the narrative, to weave the narrative into the gameplay. So it's a spectrum of how well you do that. But you're not gonna ever get away with it unless you have a movie.
It always comes down to it can be a part of a game, but it's not the game itself.
It's not reality. I mean, to the point where you're pressing a button to get the character to do something, that is still part of.
Press X to cry.
It's kind of like, unfortunately for these people,
that breaks the
press X to pay respects.
Have you guys played the game Spec Ops: The Line?
Yes.
Yes.
Let me tell you, most of my family is military. I've had relatives. My dad's the only one not in uniform. Most of my family have served with ISI, which is the equivalent of CIA, or the military of Pakistan. And when you're surrounded by enemies in all sides, let me tell you straight up, the kind of experiences that I've seen, the kind of things that I remember, is that a game like Spec Ops: The Line, for instance, the reason I highlight is that it managed to convey the image that war is absolute hell. At the end of the day, that there are people on the ground who have to do this, and no matter how experienced, no matter how hardened they are, they're going to be exposed to things that test the human soul. And there's plenty of moments within that game, like, do you guys remember when you have to end up using phosphorus gas?
Oh yeah. Most people do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you play that game.
You remember that bit? And I remember when I was sitting there playing it, and I remember my parents telling me that the neighborhood we were living in was an extremist hotbed. And I remember that scene. And I remember thinking to myself, is that as close as humanly possible, this captures it so well. And there are so many themes within it that simply, if people had their way, who are willing to censor, who are willing to kind of control and strangle, simply would not exist. I mean, I think all of us here in our late 20s, early 30s, we're all, late second or third generation gamers, and the medium has grown up without us. If anything, after the internet, our medium is one of the few places left where you can actually express ideals and ideas and presentations that simply are not possible within TV and cinema anymore.
Well, actually, there was a game that was censored, wasn't there? Was it like 5 Days in Fallujah or something
Yep.
like that?
Yeah, that one actually.
That one was it's a war game that was essentially taken down because it
was too realistic, essentially.
Yeah.
Because it was based off a real event.
But to me, I mean, from my point of view, I'm like, this is a way to get people to see what war really is. Maybe compared to some of the other more Call of Duty style games where it's just like you're doing crazy shit.
Yeah, running around.
360 no scoping and stuff. I don't know, but like I think that you do kind of need a more realistic one that can kind of show you how not fun it is to be running around.
I want to throw this out here real quick for the whole, is video games art or is it not art concept? When you have content being banned and protested against, like 5 Days in Fallujah, was it Fallujah? Someone tell me, Fallujah?
It's Fallujah, but I don't know if it's 5 days or 6 days.
I believe it was 5 Days in Fallujah. And when you have stuff like that being called out against, being protested against, and being censored, I think it does go to some length to show that it is art, because art can very often touch upon very delicate subjects that people don't want to talk about, don't want to see anything in the media as glorified even. So I definitely think video games can be art, and there are a couple of ones that I would source specifically as a good example of that. But I just want to put that out there.
So one thing that I have to say that is a criticism of the article that I had is you can have many opinions on whether games are art or not art, but the distinguishing factor that article used, or rather the excerpt from that book used, appeared to be the greater that the game is at pushing a narrative, the more art it is, or it is not art if it does not successfully push a narrative. And that is something that I do not agree with, and I don't think we would find very wide agreement with.
But it definitely depends. Well, I would just leave it at this. Like any game can be art in a way, because it's still being created. It's still content that somebody has to think of and put together and put out there. It may not be the most beautiful piece of work, but it's still art to some level. But
would you call a game not art because it didn't push a narrative?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Is like
I wouldn't call it high art.
You'd have to look at other pieces of art and decide, is the fact that they didn't have a narrative in there, does that make it not art? Which you can easily look at a painting and say, is this telling a story? No, it's not. It's not ostensibly.
At the same time, I would argue the point that art is beyond a story. Art is trying to physically leash and rein in the idea of metaphysical concepts.
And that's what I would say with video games. A lot of people are misunderstanding who the artist is in this case. There's several artists that come together to make the game. That's one form, and then the other artist is the gamer who plays it, and they make their own story in playing the game.
Anyway, this is something I would love to talk about in a lot more depth, and it's on.
Yeah,
there's a lot of topics that come up like that. But I want to go ahead and get to our next guest here. Before we do, Primus, do you have anything else you want to add?
Let me just hold on. I had something. I've got a terrible memory tonight. Just give me a sec. Fuck it. Okay. I'll do it next time. Cheers, guys.
As always, next time. Thanks for coming, bud.
Nice to meet you.
Have a good night, Primus.
Nice to meet you too.
Good chat, lads. Good chat.
There's a lot of interesting subjects that come up in this chat, and I would love to give more time to all of them. But anyway, Molly, I see you here, and glad to have you along with us.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
That's fine.
Loud and clear, Molly.
Excellent. My signal's not too great, so I just wanted to make sure.
Oh, no, that's perfect.
Perfect. Thanks for inviting me. Glad to be here.
Oh, Jesus, apologies. We were all talking over you. I am so sorry. You were here at the same time, and we were just yapping on. I am so sorry, love.
I see the thirst is coming out.
No, you guys were covering a great topic.
Oh, fuck ye sideways, you fucking infidels.
Okay, well, an interesting one.
Anyway, yeah, thanks for joining us. It's been a while since we spoke over at Airplay.
Yeah. So I know a couple of you, but most of you I've either never communicated with and I definitely haven't met most of you in person. But
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit and go ahead and bring up a topic you want to discuss.
Sure. My name's Molly. I live in the DC area. Technically not a non because my real name and face is out there. Again, most of you don't know me. Some of you might know me as the turquoise shirt girl from Airplay, or as quite possibly the only person Ralph has written anything warm and fuzzy about on his site.
Oh, that Ralph.
I think I got to meet you for like a really quick second at Airplay.
Yeah. We did talk briefly.
But yeah. So you are a journalist. Right?
I used to be. Right now, and actually, I guess like this is the reason that I'm not really afraid to put my name and face out there is because I currently work in an industry that has nothing to do with journalism or gaming, and none of my coworkers know what GamerGate is, nor do they care. So I have really nothing to be afraid of.
Gotcha.
Well, that's definitely good.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's in your mind lately, anyway? Because everybody has an opinion about the stuff that goes on in the whole GamerGate umbrella, essentially. That's what I like to refer to it as.
Right. I was listening to you guys at the beginning. I haven't been able to listen for the past half an hour or so I don't know if this has been touched on, because I know that you guys have been kind of hopping around from topic to topic. But something that I've been thinking about lately and have been seeing some people tweet about lately. Do you guys? So I've been following GamerGate for several months, but haven't really been actively involved for more than 3 or 4 months. So I know people have different opinions on this, but I'm still learning. Do you guys actually think that there is a serious divide under the umbrella, as you put it, between ethics-only folks and anti-SJW folks, or do you think that's a smokescreen?
No, I think there definitely is some friction in the community when it comes to that. I think it's a lot bigger of a misunderstanding than some people realize it is, or at least than it should be.
Yeah.
I speak to a lot of people who kind of come down on both sides of the fence on that issue, and a lot of it, in my opinion, seems to be a simple misunderstanding between opinions of what some people want and what some people don't want. There certainly are some people who do strictly want it to just be one thing or the other, and that's just ridiculous. You can't have that. It's nothing reasonable by any measure.
So
what it comes down to is
the way I would argue it, Molly, is that throughout human history, the role of the journalist has actually evolved from the town crier and other medieval examples to the point it actually has a pedigree. The idea of information relay between the ruling class and the public. And the best way I see it is I do understand the people who want to fight the social justice warrior agenda. Because in my opinion, the social justice warriors are carved from the same cloth as the ideologues and extremists and demagogues who ruined my home country. But the best way I can see it in the West, when you have a free flow of information, the way I can understand the people who argue against it, why there's friction. But if you have ethical, as unbiased as humanly possible, and objective reporting between the people who are relaying the information and the public, no one ideology can hold sway. If warts and all of any, be it radical feminism, Islamists, fascists, conservatives, Democrats, if we have a non-compromised, if we have a non-biased outlet and a relay of information, no one ideology, no one school of thought can hold sway. It is the initial barrier between the public and what is going on.
Well, let me add in. I think it's a very good tactic to use, the very least, but I don't think it's quite the definitive and end-all, be-all of what we can and can't do, of course. And I think that's the misunderstanding some people get, is that when it comes to that, it's not simply that you or other people, for example, want everybody else to shut up about whatever they're talking about. It's just the focus you would like to see, and one that you definitely want to put more emphasis on yourself. I personally agree with it. I think from like a standpoint of holding anybody up to your standards, and being able to definitively point them out and call them out on it, as opposed to just saying, hey, you're bad and think you're dumb for this reason. I think that's a really good way to go about it. It definitely goes hand in hand with at the same time, we have that, and we have the whole kind of culture war side of things too that a lot of people like to get involved in, and I think and you definitely can't ignore or have one without the other.
So at the end of the day, I think it's just a matter of just tactics and people saying, how is it that we can best kind of tackle this situation? And there was people that looked at what was going on and saying, if we can fix these ethics policies, that would be a great way to cripple people tactically, if they are able to enforce those ethics policies, right? And then there's other people saying ethics won't change corrupt people, and so those people who are SJW only, I guess, don't. They say, no, we just need to raise awareness and bring to light all these people that are being corrupt. And so it's two different ways to go about it, and I think for a while it wasn't as divisive. Like, I don't think people got that there were like some ethics only people or some SJW only people. It wasn't. I don't know. I think earlier on it wasn't so much of an argument back in the day. I think everybody was kind of all in the same team on that aspect where you need ethics and to fight SJWs, but now it seems it's very much divisive.
It's very gray because a lot of it comes down to
position where I have both been called an ethics cuck and I have fielded that term myself. So I have an answer for this. You can go ahead.
The way I was saying it is that the biggest reason that we have the divide and the biggest reason we have the collision amongst people, Molly, at the same time addressing directly the idea of conflict under the umbrella, is due to primarily down to our ease of access of information. Because, for instance, the only ethics people are seeing a breach within the fine, thin line between the relay of information and people. If the relay of information remains uncompromised, if the people relaying it remain objective and say, these are the facts, without my political or personal feelings interjected into it, these are what's going on. And the people are smarter these days than some people give credit for. We are information junkies. We live in an age where we are bombarded with information, and people are addicted to it. The problem is that there's so much junk information. If there is an ability to provide factual, objective, and clear-cut information, people will absorb it because they've become addicted to it. Even studies conducted within Europe found that people reacted to information withdrawal very similarly to actual drug withdrawal. That is what's being substituted for it. So if we can get even the first line, like, I'll understand why people are arguing about social justice warriors and zealots and so on, but if we can get the ethics line at the same time to remain as uncompromised as more, people are smarter than we give them credit for.
So when you're talking about ethics, what type of ethics are you talking about? Because one of the problems that we're facing right now is these journalists think that they are behaving ethically. They apply a form of utilitarian ethics where they think that they are acting in the favor of the greater good, that their agenda pushing is a form of ethics. They are acting as an ethical journalist by pushing a progressive agenda.
If I may, I would follow up on that and say, when Eric Kane wrote an article several months ago, I think it was actually in December when he put this out, he was saying that he doesn't think GamerGate is purely about ethics and gaming journalism. He thinks we don't give ourselves enough credit, and that what we really try to strive for is simply ethics in general. And I kind of agree with that, because what we really are doing is a very twofold thing when it comes to that. Because essentially what it comes down to
it's not just twofold.
It's many.
Right.
It spans many different subjects and topics. It's a Hydra essentially is what it comes down to, of different situations people want to bring up. It's very individualistic because of that.
Yeah. So can I correct the misconception? Like I said, I'm one of the people who has both been called an ethics cuck and has fielded the term. The reason why people call me that is because my videos primarily focus on things like conflicts of interest. However, even people who regularly field the term ethics cuck do not consider me to be one. The reason for that is a general misunderstanding of what someone means when they field the term ethics cuck. What they mean is not that you care solely about ethics. That doesn't matter. What they mean is that you are trying to change the focus of other people. If you're trying to speak for other people to say that it is about something or something else, then that is when the term cuck is fielded. I don't say that other people should focus on ethics. I say everyone should do their own thing, and therefore I never ever get called an ethics cuck, except by other people who are getting called ethics cucks, humorously enough. So there is something else that will get you called an ethics cuck, and that is if you are policing a community against the will of the members of the community.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that I definitely don't see anything wrong personally with trying to espouse your opinion and trying to get people to do what you would like and go along with your plan and your action. It's kind of rallying behind an idea that you think is really worthwhile. I don't see anything bad with that personally. The issue always comes down to when people try to demand others fall in line with what they think is the correct way and only way to go about doing something. And I don't think there's any necessary reason to even argue or fight back against those kind of people, because at the end of the day, it's just people on Twitter or image boards or wherever they may be, just doing their own thing. And
the issue comes when those people start to get into moderator positions.
Yes, that is an actual.
I do agree with that.
That would be a problem, for example.
Yes.
But if it's somebody going, "Do this, guys. If you don't do it, you're a bunch of assholes," all you have to do is ignore them. There's nothing they have. They have no power over you.
I also want to point out a reverse problem as well, because I have seen this a few times, and it ends badly every time it's fielded. I see people who say the reverse ethics argument. Well, if you care about ethics, then you are GamerGate. And that is just as bad. Don't do that.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It was tried against Ice-T. It was tried against Richard Dawkins. Richard Dawkins, of course, didn't buy it because he knows that that's an insult to his intelligence.
Oh, yeah.
He's a very intellectual man. Try not to pull that, because that ends badly as well.
Yeah,
that's my personal advice.
We have no monopoly on the issues we care about. It's just GamerGate just happens to be a banner that we fall under. But
as I've said before, and I know you're going to move on, but as I've said before, a lot of people are involved with GamerGate for their own personal reasons of why they came into it. Some of us are here because we were sick and tired of social justice warriors. Some of us are here because of ethics, and some of us are here because they're very much against anti-censorship, or they're against censorship. Excuse me.
Yeah,
I guess the reason that I asked, and the reason that sometimes I think the argument over the supposed divide is silly is just because it's impossible for all of this stuff to not tie together, particularly with the issue between ethics versus SJWs. I mean, this is one of the reasons this whole thing started in the first place, especially if it's happening on a large scale. If you have
because they were essentially abusing their positions of power.
Uh-oh.
Still there?
Did Molly cut out for everyone or just me?
She cut out for me.
Molly, where'd you go?
Well, she did say she's on her phone.
Yeah, it happens.
Okay,
they're working for me.
Okay, Molly, you're cutting out really, really bad.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
I can hear you now.
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry about that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it happens.
So I don't know how much you guys heard.
Just start from the beginning.
Yeah. Good.
Uh-oh, am I cutting out again?
No.
Just go ahead and start from the beginning, because we did miss quite a bit of it.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
okay,
man.
well,
I'm sure she'll speak in a minute.
Yeah, Molly, why don't you go ahead and work on that, and we'll come back to you in that case.
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to say is one of the reasons why they are so intertwined is because, as I said, if you are a follower of a specific rather hypocritical agenda called SJWism, then your view of journalistic ethics is completely different from our view of journalistic ethics, where a simple conflict of interest can be viewed as a minor thing if it's done in service of pushing the appropriate agenda.
Oh yeah, if it's for the greater good, then what does it matter, right?
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
I can.
Much better.
Okay, good. I moved to where I think I could get a better signal.
All right.
But just real quick, I only need a few seconds just to finish up the point I was trying to make earlier. I think that it's impossible, especially when it comes to ethics versus SJWs, for it to not all tie together, which is why I think the argument over the supposed divide almost seems silly to me sometimes. This is one of the reasons this whole thing started, is because if you have journalists, especially if they're not op-ed writers, who are using these are people that you're supposed to trust to report facts and tell the truth, and if they're using their platform to push an agenda rather than tell the truth, that is unethical. So at least as far as I'm concerned, it all ties back into ethics.
They're very they go hand in hand, essentially, is what it comes down to.
That's what confused me a little bit was you know, at the end of the day, I don't really care if somebody's got like some crazy different ideology from me. It's only in how they use their existing powers to try to push that ideology.
Exactly. If you're abusing your powers, you know, of your position that you have, then that's where it becomes an issue.
I mean, at the end of the day, I guess when I kind of looked at what GamerGate was trying to go for, it was less about ethics and more about integrity. But you know, so I mean, I guess that's ethics too. But like, it seemed more about that than strictly like a, you know, SPJ journalism ethics type thing.
Yeah. Well,
if you want a real mind job, a blogger named Eloguro, before GG started, wrote a blog called On Right-Wing Video Game Extremism, in which she says that Total Biscuit and JonTron have no journalistic ethics because they don't push a progressive agenda. It'll give you an idea of what we're dealing with.
Yo, good job.
Oh, yeah. Okay, before we go any further, we have another guest here who has been patiently waiting for a while now. Mark, if you're there.
Hello. I'm here.
Wonderful, thank you. So yeah, we have the wonderful Mark Seb with us, also known as Action Points.
Yeah, no, I guess. I think Molly had asked me that question before, and QQ said something that I kind of disagree with. And I'm just, I don't think I've ever seen anyone who has said no talking about SJWs ethics only. I think the most I can think, I think the most I've seen that, or the closest it's been, was when Acid Man on GGHQ had sort of told people to like consolidate all of their, you know, like drama, like e-celeb drama, but I've never seen anything to be like, you know, oh, only ethics.
Well, I think that was the straw man that was created in a sense, because I saw. Okay, so I'll talk about, like, I saw Sargon, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, because I've been waiting a bit.
Yeah.
So I as far as I've seen, like, it's kind of a joke, and then kind of used by people who like are fiercely here to, or not here, but fiercely interested in fighting SJWs. And that's the only time I ever see ethics only or ethics cuck or whatever they want to call it. That's the only time I ever see it.
I have the same observation.
Can I ask you two questions with regards to that? Or really one question. Have you been watching the KIA deletions bot and the GGHQ deletions bot on Twitter?
No, I don't even know what that is.
I would suggest that you follow both of those accounts and watch them closely, because that might change your mind on that.
No, well, explain it to me. What is deletions bot?
There are two Twitter bots that every single time a topic is deleted from GGHQ or from Kotaku in Action, it just puts out a little tweet that says what was deleted, who did the deletion, and then you can go and you can look at the mod logs and see the reason that was given.
Okay.
I never heard about that bot until today.
I'm following it. Yeah.
So what is the implied conclusion?
Just watch them for a while.
Well, no, I mean, if you're telling me about it, explain it. I want to hear what it is. Otherwise, what's the point of bringing it up if you're not going to tell me?
Are you saying that they're deleting anything having to do with somebody complaining about SJWs? Is that what you're saying?
There is a pattern of that happening this is just from my observations. Not necessarily as you think it would be. Basically, Kotaku in Action has a rule that if you are posting something that has to do with certain topics, the post has to be constructed in a certain way for it to be accepted. And that has very interesting effects on the community, and I think that might be part of the reason behind this perception of there being an ethics-only push. Again, if you watch the bots, you will see this pattern happening, because, again, if it's not a text post, Reddit has this weird thing called a text post. If it's not a text post, you will start to see deletions happening.
Okay, but that's not necessarily saying that If it's not ethics only, it's deleted, right? I mean, as I understand
if it's to do with ethics, it's permitted pretty much regardless of the formatting.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it becomes very inconsistent. As an example, I like to use the Real McCain's article on Sarah Butts was deleted. Milo's article on Sarah Butts was allowed. The reason that the Real McCain's article on Sarah Butts was deleted was also present in Milo's article. So I found that to be a very interesting inconsistency.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I'm getting you right. So, like you're saying to an extent that they have these extra rules and formatting so that if they wanted to get rid of something, they could use that formatting rule as an excuse to get rid of it?
I'm describing it from the point of the effect that I see, not necessarily the intent. I can't ascribe intent to the moderators, but as far as the effect that it has had on moderation, that is what I am seeing. Is that that type of post gets deleted a disproportionate amount just from what I see pop up in my feed.
Okay. I don't know what to say about that.
I don't ever follow KIA, so I can't really say anything. But I didn't know there was a bot that was doing that actually until today.
Oh, they're cool because, yeah, like I said, you'll see them pop up in your feed, and they give you a sampling of the types of things that are being deleted, and it helps you to form your own conclusions about this type of thing.
Understandable.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, with that considered, I mean, I'm still seeing tons and tons of magenta in KIA. You know, like there's still plenty and plenty of SJW focused posts every day, more so than ethics. Disproportionately so. So I don't know. I don't think ethics has taken over KIA, and it never really has. I've watched it every day, like, and I just noticed how much freaking magenta is there. Magenta is the drama tag or the SJW stuff. So
well, I'm a bit of a radical when it comes to things like that. I often wonder if Reddit has the tools built into it for the communities to moderate themselves without a top-down approach.
Mm-hmm.
So it always makes me wonder when there are deletions for any reason, or when there are formatting rules like that for any reason, why they are acting against community interests. Again, this is just me being a little bit...
I mean, I understand that. I also see Reddit, it's got its own culture, and moderators, they get rid of posts, but, before, back in the day when I was on KA a lot more, you'd see tons of reposts, and you'd see tons of people posting just nothing, really. And so it does help to actually see less of that. But there is a downvote
button, and if it's really worth nothing to the community, it will end up at 0%.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, it's also just nice to have a clean feed when you just go in, and so it's partly convenience, and then, like you said, like it could be people trying to push an agenda, but, from my standpoint, I mean, I've also seen... I also follow that bot, so I see deleted posts and stuff.
That's never gonna happen.
I don't
think it's
moderators have to, and also they are to a certain extent. I'll defend them.
What happened?
That's not good.
Looks like he might have. It looks like he might have actually muted himself.
No,
it looks like he looks.
As he talks, it automatically unmutes. So
he'll figure it out.
I'll just make the point I was going to make. I don't think it's ever going to happen that it's going to be ethics only, or for me, it seems like it's something that's said by people who are radically right wing and hate pinko lefty commies and want to fight the SJWs because they're the ultimate bad guy, and it just makes their binary world very, very simple. It's never going to happen because there's even people on Twitter who are identified left wing, and they hate SJWs just as much. It's too pleasing for us instinctually to have someone we can point to and say that's the bad guy, or someone we can laugh at every day. To say there's going to be ethics only, it's almost conspiracy level. I would be very curious to see if you could give me something substantial with records of those bots.
There's a handful of people at most that come to mind. The only real person I can think of off the top of my head would be Redrigan, who left the GamerGate scene months ago after he made an ass of himself to begin with.
So was that again?
I find Mark's argument to be interesting because I consider myself left wing. I focus primarily on ethics, and yet I have used the term ethics only before. So I would field as another example.
Yeah, but are you forcing other people to do that though? Are you like strong arming other people and like not talking about anything else apart from that?
I don't care what anyone talks about. I just I have seen certain people declare that GG is primarily about ethics, and here's the one that really bothered me. I have seen people declare, and I could name names.
Let's not.
Me, and I will give you the names if you are interested.
No.
I've seen people declare.
Not on the stream. Whoa. Not on the stream. We don't need.
Yeah, we don't need any names dropping tonight.
I'm not naming names in the stream. Like I said, we can communicate this via other channels if you're interested. I've seen people declare that GG has accomplished the goal of ethics, and that is the one that really gets my goat.
That's what I was gonna talk about actually before, which is okay, yeah. I mean, I'm just saying the name because it's somebody who was notable. Sargon said that we had achieved the goal of ethics, and pack up, go home, mission accomplished and stuff. But I mean, I saw a lot of people disagree with that, and that's when I started seeing the ethics only straw man pop up. I don't know if I totally.
Is it a straw man?
I think that at the end of the day, you're trying to, not you specifically, that people want to sum up someone's argument for them before they even talk to the person, and I think that that's what I mean by straw man. They're trying to knock down their side of an argument that they haven't had.
Well, here's the thing. GamerGate was only ever about individuals and what they have. Each and every one of us kind of seeks out for it for ourselves. So there's nothing technically wrong with whatever Sargon said. To him, the goals that he set out to see accomplished could very well have been done so. It might still differentiate from what everybody else thinks, but if that's how he feels about it, that's how he feels about it. I
think the controversial part about that, I think, was that I think it was implied that he was speaking for GamerGate or something. So,
which would be easy enough to stop and ask him, like, "Are you speaking on behalf of everybody?" And I think if we did ask him that, I think we can make a reasonable guess and say what the answer most likely would be, which would be.
But it's not just him. There's other people that have made that argument, and
yeah, Monday Matt has made it as well.
Yeah, and so I think with that, you have to remember that e-celebs are still individuals, and I think that, I don't know, you can hold them up to the standard of, no, they need to show every single perspective that exists. But, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, Monday Matt made it very clear that it was his own personal perspective, though. I will say that. I also find it interesting that we're talking about straw men, whereas I've never really seen anyone who is so far right-wing and so focused on SJWs that they completely discard everything else. I have not seen that other extreme.
Right-wing? Right.
I think he's just saying that he's never seen people that are just about taking the piss out of social justice nonsense warriors, and that aren't okay with the ethics thing. I think ultimately, both if there is just SJW only folks and there is just ethics only folks, hey, why can't we just work together on it? Because the ethics and the SJW thing just kind of works in its own unison together as it is anyway.
I will join with any man to do good and no man to do evil.
Exactly. Well, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
I would at least say for anybody who is inclined to just kind of write somebody off as such a person, ethics or SJW only, just as a dumb thing to say. Just hear whatever they're talking about. If they're not shoving it in your face and telling you to shut up and you can't do anything else, then let them say what they want.
I agree. I also think that it's really hard to say that there's some sort of conspiracy on either side going on, because even if there were, it would be impossible to actually succeed in seeing it out, just because we have so many platforms that we communicate on and each has their own different culture. You can't control a group as diverse as we are.
Mostly because we're not really a group. It's just people talking about certain subjects that everybody else shares an interest in that falls under
we have our own
umbrella.
little networks.
Yeah, exactly. That's really all it is. It's a network of individuals talking about whatever subject they feel is relevant to the whole umbrella.
I have been pulled into different Skype and DM groups at various times with the specific purpose of pushing a specific message, and I don't like it. But that does take place. It's not a conspiracy. It happens organically, but that is something that is happening.
Well, okay, so, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, I guess, is it something that's trying to change the nature of GamerGate, or is it something that's trying to push an idea, or somebody's got a project that they want to do.
Let me before he answers that, here's something I would make a distinction on. It's the important difference in that, in my opinion, is it isn't so much that somebody's trying to push something as it is trying to stop somebody else from speaking their mind on the same issue.
I mean, see, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's like if somebody, if say if I got put into a DM group of people who wanted to make a game, then that's just a DM group of people that want to make a game. If there's a DM group that people want to make some organization that wants to set something up, that's just a group of people that want to make an organization that sets something up. It's like, I don't know exactly how being in a private group is horrible, especially when GamerGate itself isn't an organization.
There's
you
a lot of talk.
You aren't acting against anyone in particular.
I'm not. I don't discuss what happens in private DM groups or in private Skype groups.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just talking about what I have seen happen.
I know. I'm speaking rhetorically too.
Yeah, I will say that there are things that happen in Game Journo Pros that upset us a lot. I would just try and avoid that specific behavior. Things like working with other professionals who are in the same sense that you are, and working together behind the scenes in order to push specific agendas. Those are two things that I don't particularly like to see, and I would perform self-reflection if you ever see yourself engaging in those two behaviors.
All right, but okay, let me ask you something. All right, because
I personally think this conversation is easy.
Like for professionals, like in what sense? I mean.
So one of the big problems with Game Journo Pros was that there were competing journalists who were professionals in the same industry. They're journalists, they're in the same industry, they're working together behind the scenes. That's a problem. Another sense that I would say is that this is where it became a huge problem, is some of those journalists left journalism and took up PR for companies that were being covered by the other journalists and stayed in the group. Now that is a big problem, because then you had PR for companies and journalists working together. That's just a mess.
I mean, yeah. Okay, so more specifically, professionals who are in the same industry who are competing against each other.
Supposed to compete, yes.
Yeah, because professionals can be in a private group all they want.
Yeah, for example, Polaris has a private group where private Skype group. Total Biscuit has admitted to this, where all of their
all the YouTubers get together.
members get together and talk. That's as long as Total Biscuit is completely correct in saying that it's only the Polaris people who are in that group. There's not like PR, there's not people from other multi-content networks or whatever. It's just Polaris. That's fine, because they are not competitors. They're working together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and move on to another subject here. But before I do, Mark, do you have anything else you want to bring up?
Sorry, I was trying to respond to people in the chat. Yeah, I mean, since some people are getting all frustrated because they said he's making a straw man, even though by virtue of them saying ethics cup, they're making straw men. Once again, I said that's what I have viewed. QQ offered something different, and I said, oh, well, I'd be interested in seeing that. I don't think I'm some sort of infallible e-celeb, and apparently, I mean, they were saying Sargon had said ethics only or something.
Monday Matt has.
See, I would love to get Sargon on here just to clarify a little bit what he said. Not that he has to, but just kind of like maybe try and bury the hatchet.
If they recanted and they said, oh wait, that was a mistake of us to say, then what is the virtue of still going on saying, oh, but they said ethics only? Well, if they said they're sorry, or they said no, you make a good point, I take it back. I don't understand. I don't see what the point is. And once again, like I'm saying, I'm not saying I know everything. Especially, I mean, QQ, once again, he's told me something I'm now learning about. I feel the danger in radicalism is that when we allow ourselves to become so passionate about a specific point of view, we shut ourselves off to something else, and that we're willing to look at others as an enemy. I mean, you might say GG was radical in what it did, but I would say that's not the case, because the industry was already so radicalized that even a moderate stance would seem radical in comparison.
Okay, but before we... Oh yeah, I guess I would just bring up what other people are talking about in chat, where you had kind of mentioned who you were talking about before as kind of like right-wing individuals. And that seems to be on their mind.
I will say one thing. I do consider myself to be a radical, but I will always without fail, engage in debate with anyone who seeks it. If you wanted to go on a stream with me, I'm welcome to it.
Okay. Well, like I said, I was asking Mark mostly.
Tussle you.
All right, hold on. Hold on.
Yeah, before you had used an example about right-wing individuals being like ethics only and such. So.
Theodrin says that I claim they're all right-wing extremists. I don't. I'm pretty sure, and if I had said that, then I apologize. I was mistaken. I had said, from what I have seen, they're all that. I mean, I don't make an effort to go and search every nook and cranny of GG. I mean, I even had the discussion with you, Theodrin, and I was like, oh, okay, well, you offer points of views that I did not consider, and then I said, it was an amicable discussion. Once again, I think you folks are getting a little too excited. I'm not claiming to speak for everyone.
Okay, I think that's pretty fair. Like, that's your observation. That's what you've seen. I've got my own observations about certain topics that get brought up by certain individuals too, and But anyway, so let's see. Who else do we have ready to come in, Fox?
Micro's coming in a second, and I am bringing one other person in. But yeah, go ahead. Do your thing.
Before we do that, John, do you have anything else you want to add before we see about rotating you out?
I guess two things from previous topics. First one is games as art. For me, the only games I wouldn't consider art are things like EA's Dungeon Keeper, Star Trek Chisels, those kind of stuff. And then the other one is to do with the Anita in the UN. Do you think she actually believes what she's saying when it comes to harassment isn't just what is this? It's the law.
I really don't know. It's hard to tell when it comes to her. I think she just really kind of puts words out there that she doesn't think about.
Who are we talking about?
Anita, right?
This is my speculation, is that she's mostly acting in her own rational self-interest.
Anita is stunning and brave. That was a joke.
Yeah, this has been discussed a lot. There's so many things, there's so many points of speculation when it comes to her, and what exactly she's trying to achieve, why she would try to, and I think Margaret, Margaret's belly has a point when it comes to that. She probably just got in over her head, and now she's being pushed into that position where she has to speak, even if she doesn't like it.
You mind if I chime in on the whole Anita thing real quick when we talk about, why is she doing what she's doing? What is going on here? If you go back and look at Feminist Frequency's channel, that woman has been throwing shit at a wall for years until something finally stuck. She went after music. She went after movies and comic books, and finally she went after games, and that has what nailed her to the wall. That's what's got it stuck so hard. And if you really look at Anita, she's kind of I don't want to call her a puppet, but it's the... Well, let's just put it this way. The more she talks, the more money she keeps bringing in for herself, the more things she gets invited to speak at. She's all about the money and lining her pockets. She doesn't give, in my opinion, she doesn't give a goddamn about what the fuck she's talking about or anything to do with video games or feminism, as long as she is getting paid.
Considering her background that we know of, that's probably true. I wouldn't put it past that.
And that's an opinion now.
Yeah, I always say there's three types of SJW. There's the true believer, the Kool-Aid drinker. It's actually really hard to find this kind, but I would put Sarah Butts or Brendan Keogh as examples of that. Then there's the opportunist who's in it for money, and then there's the opportunist who's in it to elevate their own social status.
See, I personally think that in using your example, Q, I would put Anita somewhere between 2 and 3. Somewhere in between there, because to me, it just seems like that's what she's doing. I mean, she went all the way to the UN, for crying out loud, and said some of the most nonsensical bullshit we've ever fucking heard. And
I wonder if maybe she's putting out material at this point, in which she's citing Jack Thompson as a source.
Look, there was a report written at the UN that cited a hard drive, for fuck's sake. Look, we're giving these people too much credence here.
Yes,
I do want to clarify one thing because there's a lot of rumors flying around this.
All right, before,
Zoe does
before you
claim
continue.
that the UN was who wrote that report, not either Anita Sarkeesian or.
Yeah, it was neither of them.
He came out and she actually said she was very pissed off about that report too, as well.
All right, cool. Before we go any further, though, we have another guest coming on, and John, I thank you for coming along, and I hope you come back another time.
Yeah, sorry I didn't talk that much.
It's all good,
I'm
man.
used to having chats with this many people.
Hey, you set a fire for us all to talk about for a while there, so nothing bad with that.
Alright, see ya.
Alright, see ya. Okay, so let's see. We have Max Sand with us now.
Hello.
What's up?
Welcome, buddy.
Hey, Max, how's it going?
So, this is what I wanted to talk about. Why is it that this stream has to be so incredibly dull?
Of course you would say that. You're Max Sand. Right now you're the notorious Max Sand, if I'm correct.
Indeed I am, QQ. But that is not the subject. The
question is what could we do to spice it up?
Well, right now, I'm going to give you a rundown of what this stream is. It is a circle jerk of yes men. Because nobody is disagreeing with anybody, and nobody is having a meaningful conversation.
All right, hold on a minute there. First off, it's not supposed to be about a debate. It's not supposed to be an argument. The purpose of this stream is to have anons come on, anybody who wants to come on, and bring up any topic they want.
So what do you feel is not talked about enough then?
Yeah. If you want to bring up any subject, if you want to maybe bring up something a little bit, more fiery than anybody else has, go for it. I have no problem with that. So, yeah, go ahead and continue.
There's nothing left to say.
Wait. You just said that we haven't been having a vigorous enough debate, and yet you have nothing to bring to the table for us to vigorously debate.
Entertain me!
All right.
No,
guys,
I'm not your entertainer.
Alright, fair enough. Alright, we'll entertain you, man.
Goodbye.
Okay.
That was really
Anyway.
weird.
Yes, it was very
Max
weird.
Sand.
Yeah. Hey, guys,
He's
for
a cool
anybody
guy.
listening, yeah,
He's
for
always
anybody
like that,
listening, like I said before, you can bring up anything you want on the stream. I got no issue with it. If you feel there's something worth avoiding, go ahead and bring it up. The only rules I have for the streams are not to have any personal attacks and to avoid drama. That's all there is to it.
Let's talk about imaginary lives matter.
Yeah, if you that's what you guys want, you can go ahead and make another stream for it. I'll gladly jump in on that if you want. I doubt anybody wants my opinion, but just saying.
Let me talk about one thing just for the hell of it. It's way off topic from what we've been talking about, but like we talked about last stream, some cool things to do, as far as goals is to, like, I don't know, build up, the gaming community more and stuff. So me, or John Smith, myself, possibly Queenie, and some other people, we're kind of doing we're gonna be doing like some D&D. I'm learning how to play D&D for the first time. Tomorrow, actually, around 1 p.m. So look for a stream for that. Yeah. If you guys want, if you're interested in doing some, D&D, we're gonna be doing more of those. So yeah, just follow me on Twitter, and you'll see some of that pop up if you're interested.
All right.
Alrighty then.
Do we have any
I
other
played
people
D&D
lined
since
up
I was
right
a teenager.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to because I had the whole moral panic thing in my family. So
I just never have time for it anymore. I'm too busy as a chaos god.
Yeah, true. Good point.
That whole responsibility thing, it's kind of a downer. It kind of messes with your fun time.
Our dice the
all right, so yeah.
20-sided dice is extra evil.
I always thought 6-sided die were evil as hell.
Anyway.
What was it that in 2nd edition you used to roll initiative on? Was that a 10-sided dice? That never seemed to work out.
I don't remember actually. I remember always rolling percentiles when I played some D&D back in the day. My DM was always into using percentiles.
Oh yeah, well you'd have to use it if it's something that was extremely low odds, like praying for a miracle or something like that.
Yeah, he used to have his roll percentiles for some of the strangest things, and I'm not going to go into that because I mean, he was pretty wild with his stuff that he would run.
DMs can make or break it, man.
Okay, well, anyway, before we get too much further off the topic here, Fox, do we have anybody else ready to come on?
We do. So I'm just waiting to hear back from them real quick.
All right, that's cool. In the meantime, let's see. Molly, we only got to you once, I think, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Was there anything else?
We did start a very vigorous debate.
Yeah, I think we should let Molly speak some more here. What's up, Molly? What else you got for us?
I mean, that was the main thing I wanted to talk about. I did think it was funny that now we have people saying, oh, it's not spicy enough, there's not enough drama, because I think the last conversation that we were kind of towing that line just a little bit at certain points.
If you guys don't like my vague description of what is or is not drama, you don't have to come to my stream. It's that simple.
Oh no, like I am absolutely I'm not complaining.
Oh, I know you're not. I'm just saying that for anybody watching right now. I generally describe genre as anything that doesn't put forward constructive discussions, essentially.
So, Molly, though, actually, I got a question for you.
Sure.
You used to be a journalist, you said, correct?
That is correct.
What were any of the publications that you used to work for, if you don't mind, if that's okay for me to ask?
That's fine. Actually, this is just kind of a really big coincidence. I used to be a producer at WDBJ in Roanoke.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, that's interesting. Wow, I'm actually not that far from Roanoke personally, but that's quite interesting. That was where the incident with the other journalists took place. Am I correct?
Yes, I actually I knew Allison and Adam. Adam and I started at WDBJ within like a week or two of each other, and we worked on the Morningside crew for a while together before I left.
Okay, well, leading into that, I've got another. You've actually opened up a couple of other questions I wanted to ask you. Were you familiar with the story that was about GamerGate that was run down in Georgia?
Oh, absolutely. I'm very familiar with it. I don't know if you got a chance to read Brad Glasgow's feature on it, but he talked to me a little bit when he found out that I used to work at WDBJ, and there's I am quoted in the piece. It doesn't necessarily directly to the WSB story, but yes, just that's a really long way of saying that yes, I'm very familiar with what happened.
Okay, well, my question is, what were your thoughts about seeing such a, in my mind, it was a very shoddy attempt at journalism. I mean, what were your thoughts about that particular story when it was run? Because obviously it was shoddy. They didn't go check any facts. They just went on Twitter, pulled some random stuff, and threw it out there and slapped it all together. What were your thoughts about that, actually?
I thought it was pretty embarrassing, like really embarrassing. Especially as someone who used to work at a local TV station. There was some back and forth I saw between people kind of arguing over whether there might have been any maliciousness involved, whether this reporter may have secretly had an agenda, or whether it was just ignorance. I personally don't think there was any maliciousness involved. I do think it was just I think it was two things. I think it was ignorance of the subject matter, and since that was the case, I think she should have given the story to somebody else, or they should have talked to maybe a freelancer or literally anybody else who could have at least filled her in. And secondly, I think we have a huge problem thanks to new media where urgency has become more important than accuracy. And I think this is the kind of story that could have waited a day or two to air, but they were so anxious to be the first with this exclusive story and to fill time in their 6 p.m. newscast that nobody bothered to fact check. And one of the reasons that I'm really convinced that there was no maliciousness involved was just based on how the reporter, I think her name was Taisha Fernandez, how she was talking about the subject. Like when she said, well, what did Bryce talk about with the GamerGate? Or what was he playing on the GamerGate? I'm thinking, okay, this lady does not know what she's talking about. She doesn't have an agenda.
Yeah, when I heard about it, I couldn't tell if they were just trying to go for clickbaiting or if they were going for if they were actually trying to push some type of crazy anti-Gamergate style agenda or blame game. I was just curious because you worked there with those folks before and you are a journalist. I was just curious what your thoughts were on the whole thing. And I appreciate you giving me your retrospective or whatever it is on that, or perspective. There you go.
No problem. And even though it really sucks that it happened, and I know it really upset a lot of people, and I actually talked to some people, one or two in particular privately, who actually took it very, very personally, which I can understand because they're just so sick of all of these awful stories coming out that basically smear us all, whether they mean to or not. I think some good can come out of this, and again, I'm not saying I'm happy that it happened, but I think that there are journalists out there who are going to learn a lot from this, and I really think that this is going to, it's not going to stop it from happening completely, obviously, but I think that it might prevent, at least a few very similar things from happening in the future.
It's much more widespread than it is simply when it comes to games, I think. We can definitely see this in all aspects of the media.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think with what happened there, like you said, I think it's going to be a lot of lessons learned, and I think that's part of the problem with the print media, or the old media, I guess you could call it, is they don't seem to understand the internet culture and how it works, so they misconstrue a lot of the things they see going on the internet with being something more malicious or something different than what really is going on. Like in the case here, that tweet that they shared was from a girl named or from a woman named Margaret
McLennan, yeah.
And, she was just joking around, and they took that 100% out of context seriousness. And I'm hoping that maybe old media will start to kind of catch up and learn that, okay, you've got to understand the internet culture if you're going to pull from it.
Somebody was joking the other day, and I think they might have something of a point, that when we see these kind of people going around and taking non-comments at face value, what we could do is just completely throw out the most bizarre shit we can and see how far they take it and how many times they keep taking that bait. Because I think after a while, if they keep doing that and keep getting burned by it, they'll start to actually learn.
If you want
fun way of doing it.
One thing is that
troll old. Sorry, I was really quick. If you want to troll old media, start saying this other person in old media, molest donkeys, or this person has fornicates with pies, and then they'll be like, they'll be tempted to run those stories. It's like, wait, are they serious?
Those are both cool stories, though.
It's like, yeah, well, yeah. I mean, no, idiots. Of course, we're not serious. You're believing what you read on the internet. It's like that Arthur Webber with him and the bunny, and he's like, how do you know it was on the internet? He's like, are you telling people lie? Someone would just go on the internet and lie? Of course.
All right. Let's see. Mike, you were saying something?
Oh wait. I was saying one thing about that when we were at what was Airplay. I talked to Ren LaForme, and basically he was saying, there's people like him that are apparently teaching people how to internet somewhere.
How to internet.
but it's not. I mean, I don't know. I don't see it happening fast enough. It seems like they need to just hire some new young talent.
They do.
There's plenty of new young talent though who just don't understand how the more nuanced niches of the internet work.
Maybe not young talent. Maybe just the talent that grew up at the same time I grew up, because I know how to use the internet just fine, and it seems like I don't know. I really don't know.
Anyway, Molly, you were saying?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say yeah, this is I'm not saying I have a solution, but this is a problem that needs to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed quickly. We talked a little bit about this at GG and RVA when we were just kind of in a circle talking. Unfortunately, in certain ways, as great as new media is for spreading information quickly, it's kind of killing investigative journalism. Like I said before, it made urgency more important than accuracy. It made it really easy to be lazy, to just kind of pull things off of Reddit, use anonymous sources without having to necessarily vet everything and check people's identities. It made it easier to plagiarize. So it's a really mixed bag, and we need people who both understand it and know that it's important to use it responsibly.
The best example of this failing was the BuzzFeed article where they did the thing on the Baltimore Loot Crew, and they interviewed Not Juice and someone else, like two trolls were their exclusive source, and they basically said that the Color Cabal was responsible for it all, and they're some massive racist organization, which it was all just pulled out of their rear ends. The trolls' rear ends.
Oh God, I remember
exactly.
that.
But yeah, this brings up something that was said at Airplay, as a matter of fact, and a lot of people didn't care too much for the second half of the whole discussion. But in my opinion, Milo fucking knocked it out of the goddamn ballpark when he said it wasn't that hard. He just did the work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was one of the best simple lines to come out of the whole, however many hours discussion.
Yeah, and he has a point too.
I don't know. I just I think you can bring in your newer talent or like your younger talent that are more privy to the internet culture, but at the same time you still have a younger group of people that are very eager to impress, very eager to push something out there to get their name into the spotlight and become known. That mistake is still bound to happen even more, if you ask me.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I have plenty of friends who are my age who use the internet, but they're still not anywhere near as familiar with it as I would say I am, or maybe one or two of my other really nerdy friends. Like they wouldn't understand Reddit. They wouldn't understand something like anonymous image boards. They wouldn't understand like people just simply trolling the fuck out of people, for example. Normies essentially. Is what it comes down to. It's a really interesting problem, really.
Yeah.
But before we go any further, I wanted to go ahead and just introduce. We have Micro now on live with us. Micro.
Hey, babies, what's going on?
What's up, Micro?
Hey.
I heard a dirty rumor that you're drunk.
Slightly. I mean, it's not confirmed. We need sources. We need it vetted.
Well, you're in good company. We have Sabas here, who is also very drunk.
Is he still here? Because I think he might be sleeping.
Yeah, Shabazz has been quiet.
He might have passed out at some point.
He probably did. He was quite intoxicated.
Yeah, I saw him. I saw him chatting in Twitter for a while with Margaret's Belly, and then he went quiet. So
he might be somewhere else in the stage of consciousness.
Okay, well, Sabaz, I'm gonna go ahead to this moment now to thank you, even though you're not here.
Have a good night, Shabazz.
Okay.
Get some
Good
sleep.
Night. Good night, you Irishmen.
All right, so, yeah, before we go any further, let's see here. Well, Michael, since you're here now, why don't you go ahead and bring something up?
All right, bitches. Here's the real question everyone needs to know. Okay, what games are you guys fucking playing right now? Give me some. I need some games right now. I need to play some games. I need to have your opinion of what games I should be playing right now. So please give me some.
I am horribly addicted to Dungeons of Dreadmore and have been for a long, long time. It's like my game that I fire up to when I can't decide what game I want to play. That's what I've been playing the most of is Dungeons of Dreadmore. It's a roguelike that's probably the closest to like the actual old roguelikes out of all the roguelikes.
Nice.
So,
I gotta check it out.
I fucking love Dungeons of Dreadmore. I can totally give you a brofist, bro.
Internet brofist.
Brofist.
For me, like always, everyone knows I've been playing a lot of Dark Souls lately, so that's actually what I'm playing right now.
Dark Souls.
I noticed that actually. I saw you on my Steam account. I'm like, what's he doing? Hosting this fucking the show. He's playing Dark Souls right now.
I've been brushing up on my Dark Souls run, so
I love me some Dark Souls.
He's just grinding while we're talking right now. He's just leveling up.
That's exactly
level 95 in like the very first section.
Are you killing the skeleton babies to get humanity? Is that what you're doing?
Listen, skeleton babies' lives matter, okay?
Those skeleton babies, dude! I grinded so much on those skeleton babies for humanity. It's not even fucking funny.
Okay. First off, I have to say, grinding on skeleton babies is kind of lewd.
That is kind of. I didn't even.
So calm yourself. Calm yourself down
right now.
I'm not talking about grinding skeleton babies. I'm talking about hitting the skeleton babies with my sword until they die, and then I gotta quickly take them out of the pond.
I'm triggered, and now I need lotion.
I think I need Jack Thompson in here. This has gone down a very dark corner. So.
In any case, do you own Phantom Pain, Micro?
I do not actually. I need to.
So what's wrong with you? Why don't you own it?
I don't know. I don't own any any big
Video
game
games?
right now except for Mad Max.
Okay, how's that?
That's kind of weird. It's okay. A lot of people complain about like the transversing of the areas, kind of like busy work, as they say in air quotations. You can't see that.
Yeah, I heard about that.
But I actually find the busy work to make sense because since it's in a post-apocalyptical world, I can't say that very well. It makes sense to have to drive everywhere, have to get everything. So at least like the little small things that are supposed to be busy work make sense to me in that game.
Mm-hmm.
But it's low on the ludonarrative dissonance, and yes, I just said that to bother people.
Okay, that's cool. Whoever Lodo is.
Your big words are hurting my brain.
And another game I recently bought, although I had bought it on my Wii U previously, was Shovel Knights. Or Shovel Knight, rather. There's not two of them. That's an amazing game. And I started playing it for the Plague Bro, and oh my god, that's fun as well.
I've been watching my son all night until about 10 o'clock when he finally went to bed playing Goat Simulator.
Oh no.
Don't knock it till you try it. Do not knock it.
It's a fun game. It's ridiculously stupid, but it's fun.
I got bored of it rather quickly, actually.
Okay, all right.
But, I mean, I did like it, though.
It reminds me a bit of the old Tony Hawk games, almost. If the Tony Hawk games were completely ridiculous and starred a goat.
And then they did never have any glitches fixed in it whatsoever.
Like the new Tony Hawk game.
What they need to do is make it like a Goat Simulator RPG, but it's like an actual JRPG, but with the goats. I would play that.
They did it. They did the MMO or whatever, and they did a Goat Z, I think.
Goat Z as well.
There's an MMO RPG goat thing. It's interesting. I don't know. That's all I can say.
Like a goat PG would be amazing.
Okay, let me interrupt you real quick. I'm going to go ahead and put out a last call if anybody else wants to jump in the stream before we kind of wrap things up tonight. In the meantime, we can just kind of discuss whatever we would like since we're here. And just go for it.
Let me just say, if you'd like in the stream, make sure to contact me at CircleC7. That's circle and then C, like the body of water, and then number 7.
Also known as CircleFox.
And they're confused.
And Circle Jerk.
What does the fox say?
Okay, so before we completely spiral into pointlessness here, let me be a killjoy and see if anybody else has anything a little bit more media to get into and discuss.
A little bit more
actually, I got something. So in Goat Simulator, do they play Goatfinger Superman?
Say again? I didn't catch that. What was that? Something about goats?
Do they play Goldfinger Superman?
No, they didn't do that.
Darn, it's not a real Tony Hawk. It's not a real Tony Hawk experience if I don't hear Goldfinger Superman.
No, that's stuck in my head.
Actually, one of the interesting things about the game is my kid's been playing.
Feeling older in my mind. Feeling younger in my mind.
Okay, all right. How about this? What games is everybody looking forward to coming out this year? What's next on your list?
Fallout 4, of course.
Oh, there's so many right now, and I'm trying to think of even one. I know I am awaiting, even though it's not till next year, but I'm awaiting impatiently Dark Souls 3. That's my shit right there.
Yeah, I'm getting pretty desperate for that one, and I really hope the combat is as good as I think it's gonna be, because they were talking a little bit about how they're bringing in some mechanics from Bloodborne, and I really like that game.
Bloodborne's mechanics were so fucking good. Personally, I loved the focus on aggressive combat in that game.
Yes. Let me say this. I was actually a little bit bored by Bloodborne until you get to the fights with other NPCs who are like you. Those were phenomenal. It had me on the edge of my seat playing this constantly.
Those are some of the toughest fights in the game, and anytime you have to fight, and even the AI hunters, those guys are just tough to face. And they're hard to predict.
They're tough, and it's real fun too, because you really have to stay on top of what's going on, with moving back in and forth and side to side, and then getting in that perfect parry at the right moment. That I loved endlessly. But I didn't like how it was kind of restrictive in your options for combat in general. And that's one of the things Dark Souls had a lot of, in my opinion. So seeing the two of them coming together is really a big, big wish of mine. So I can't wait to see what happens out of that.
I have this great thing of it's called being poor. It keeps me from being able to buy games when they come out. So now, right now I'm at Dark Souls 1. And when Dark Souls 3 comes out, I'll be on Dark Souls 2.
You know what the thing is though? I heard that Dark Souls 2 isn't as good.
Can I just skip it and go right to 3?
That's what I heard, man. Do it.
I mean, I don't know.
The only thing you'll miss is lore and more games.
I like my lore.
Dark Souls 1. the storyline to Dark Souls 1, in my opinion, or the lore is so much more interesting than the lore and shit you find in Dark Souls 2, and that the world is so much more cohesive and put together better, just like Bloodborne. But I think that's all because Miyazaki was in charge of Dark Souls 1 and Bloodborne, and it was a different guy that did Dark Souls 2.
True. Yeah, I don't know. I'm debating on whether I should like skip it or just kind of be patient and
I'm one of those
enjoy Dark Souls 2.
I would say straight up, go ahead and play through Dark Souls 1. It is a great experience to play through. It's
No. I'm already doing that, but I'll probably still be doing Dark Souls 1 by the time 3 comes out. Like just doing different character builds and that kind of thing.
I'm one of those plebs that don't actually like Dark Souls 1, like at all. Period.
Go away.
I can't get into it. Every time I play it, I just get upset with it. And I've tried. I have tried. I put hours into this game.
Just go home.
It's not for everybody. I've got to admit, it's a game. It's a game series that's not for everybody. There are some people that seriously, no matter how much they try to play it, or no matter how good they have gotten at it, it's just not an enjoyable game for them. It really is a niche market on gaming, in my opinion.
Yeah,
they just need to get good video games.
Don't get me wrong, it's not one of those get good situations. I play roguelikes all the fucking time. Roguelikes is literally my thing.
You gotta get good, brother.
But I just can't Dark Souls. Like I play it, the aesthetics, the UI, everything about it just feels very clunky and ugly to me, so I don't like it.
Choose a Wanderer class. Go Dex. Dodge all the time. Tell me if you're not enjoying yourself. Okay, you won't. It'll be harder and you'll hate it. But I like it that way.
Here's the thing: is that I don't mind challenges. Like one of the big things is I always play hard mode in like almost every game I ever play. I play hard mode. I have no problem with that. The problem is that I don't feel Dark Souls for some reason. I don't know what it is.
Well, like I said, it's definitely just not. It's not for everybody. But like if for those that do like Dark Souls, and I know nobody really talks about this game, the Lords of the Fallen is kind of like a very narrative-driven Dark Souls style game, and it's actually not that bad.
It's okay. It's not a bad one. It's kind of weird. It's very shoulder pads.
Yeah.
It's more shoulder pads than a Sailor Moon episode.
Yeah, it's a really I don't know. I had a lot of fun with it. I haven't ever finished it, but I had a lot of fun when I do play it. So, then again, I'm a Souls fanatic too. But
oh man, I can't get enough of those Dark Souls games.
Another game that I'm like addicted to though is definitely Risk of Rain. I don't know if you guys. Whenever I kind of mention that game, no one plays it. I don't know.
I've never even heard of it.
The problem
I own it, but I couldn't get into it.
Oh, sorry.
It's buggy, but yeah.
The multiplayer is shit right now. I don't know what's going on. It used to be wonderful, at least decent, enough to where you can play it. But the multiplayer right now is shit. I don't know what's up with that.
I'm like the only person that I know that plays single player. Like I play this game religiously.
No, don't get me wrong. I've played it too for a very long time.
I played it religiously until like at one point it just started bugging like crazy, and my character just fell through the floor every time I tried to play. So I was like, okay.
Oh, damn.
I guess that's it. I guess this game is garbage now. I can't even start the game. But that and like FTLs, like those games I keep going back to.
Yeah. I do have some suggestions for people who don't have any of the new like early releases and or indie games. I do have some suggestions right now.
Hold on. Before you go on with that, I just want to put it out there since we can kind of be trailing off a little bit at this point and kind of keeping it loose, which is it's good. It's good. It's nearing the 4-hour mark anyway. Let's go ahead and just keep this up maybe 15 more minutes, and then we'll call it a night.
Sounds good.
But I would like to pick up on this kind of topic of just discussing games. This is fun stuff. Maybe later on this week I'll put something together for us.
That's fine.
Yeah, because I can see Science and Mildra, they want in, and I'm sure some other people might want just shoot the breeze about the games too. But on that note, let me just say, if you don't beat Dark Souls 1 without magic, you're a scrub.
I beat it without magic.
Yeah.
One of my first builds was actually a magic wielding or a claymore wielding magic user. Yeah, I don't know how that actually worked, but it worked.
I think I gotta ask now. I don't know if I'm the only one who does this. Whenever I play any of the From Software Souls games, the first character I always make will be a wanderer, which I don't think everyone does, and it just makes it hard because I don't have a good shield, and I'm supposed to dodge in areas I don't know yet. But then the second thing is I try not to use any magic at all. Do you guys do that?
I usually always go for a very I like dex builds, and I usually always go for non-magic using characters in my first playthrough of those games because I'm just trying to learn the mechanics of the game and get used to it.
Right, right. And if you bring magic into it, it gets even more complicated. So it's like, oh no, maybe on the second run through, or maybe later into the game.
Yeah, I'm similar to you.
I always like to go through a game with just strength builds first and get the feel for a game that way, which. For me, doing that, it was fucking hard as shit trying to get to some of the levels without being able to heal myself with poison and health in general. It was a real struggle, but holy shit, the experience of doing that and then going through again like another time afterwards in like a new game plus with magic, completely different experience. Much easier game when you're using abilities like that. But the reward of just going through and just bashing the shit out of everything with big ass sword and shield, so rewarding. I loved it.
I really, what I want to do in Souls game, or in a Dark Souls game that I haven't done yet, is just do a full-blown bow-only character.
It's tough. It's not easy. It's much easier in the second one, though.
Yeah, it is. It's just, it seems like a cool idea to go with, and it seems challenging as hell to play.
I really wanted to do this. I never did it. Maybe I'll do it one day when I'm an old man and I have so much free time. Is I wanted to use a character who just uses 2 tower shields.
Oh my god.
That's it. Just 2 tower shields. And then just shield bash everything, and then knock them down and crush them with my shield. I imagine it would be ridiculously difficult.
It's not as hard as you think, actually. The trick is you have to enchant the shields with lightning. Then you can do lightning damage.
Oh my god.
Anyway. Yeah. I wanted to say one game I wanted to bring up that I haven't ever heard a lot of people talk about it. I thought was kind of fun was this game called Deception 4. They put it on the PS4 and it was also on PS3. You guys ever heard of that game?
Can't say I have.
It's a weird game. It's like built around you're like this chick that's like in a room with the enemy, and the whole goal is you set traps and make the enemy fall for the traps, and you have to link all the traps together to create like combinations of stuff. It's really fucking fun and addictive.
Wait, what did you say the name of the game was? Sorry.
Deception 4.
Dick's one.
Okay.
And I think there's an old game that was similar to it called it was actually called Trapped back in the day in like the PS2 days.
I heard that's a gay game.
I don't know. I quite enjoyed them. They're kind of
pretty gay.
As I recall, Trapped was actually part of a larger series. Oh, by the way, hey folks.
Hey,
what's up, Mildred? How you doing, buddy?
How you doing? Hello, new faces and not so new faces.
Welcome, buddy.
Wait, Molly, can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah, Molly's getting very quiet suddenly.
Molly, are you around?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Wait, so have you been playing any games?
Yeah, sorry. The reason I was quiet is because I guess I just haven't played most of the games that you guys have been talking about. Because the game that I've been playing, most of you guys have already played. I am currently experiencing Chrono Trigger for the very first time.
Oh my god!
The can of worms have been opened.
You've been holding back on us.
The can of worms have been opened.
You know what's sad is I've never played Chrono Trigger.
No way!
Okay,
where's the boot button?
Both you and Micro need to get out of my stream right now.
I just never had a copy of it when I was younger, and when it was back in the Super Nintendo days. I just never got a chance to play it.
For what it's worth, if I may make a confession.
No.
I did not play Chrono Trigger on the Super Nintendo.
What?
Hey!
Well, I'm playing it on the DS
Let me finish. Let me finish. I have played the game.
What?
The version that I played was on the PS1 in the Final Fantasy Chronicles.
Oh
shit! Was that the one with
That was the one with
Dragon Ball Z drawings?
Hard type.
Yeah, I mean it's fine. I don't really care what you play it on.
And I had to put it with that game's long ass loading times when it came to loading battles. I can understand why Square never tried this again.
Okay, guys. Chrono Trigger, one of the best games ever.
Yeah, honestly, that's why I'm playing it, because everyone, it seems to pretty much agree that it's supposed to be one of the greatest role-playing games of all time.
Yeah, as far as like gameplay and storyline, both are just perfect in my opinion. So yeah, and same thing goes with Chrono Cross.
Chrono Cross does not get the love it deserves.
It never gets the love it deserves, but like absolutely, that's your homework. After you finish Chrono Trigger, is play Chrono Cross.
Absolutely, I've got such a long list, and my problem is, because I know we talked briefly about, what games are you looking forward to later this year, but I am so backed up. Like after I'm done with Chrono Trigger, I want to play The World Ends With You, which came out in 2010.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I still have the soundtrack on my phone.
If I may make one little suggestion to add to your probably long list of games that you intend on playing.
Yeah, please.
Because this is one that I've recommended this several times on Twitter and other places, and I seem to be part of a scant few bit of people who know about this game. A little thing called Subterra Core, which I've meant. Subterra Core was a PC game that came out in '97.
How do you spell it?
Hang on, I will put it in the Google chat.
I actually I can't see the chat because I'm using the Google Hangouts app on my iPad.
Septerra Core.
Okay, cool. I just wrote that down.
If you get it on GOG. Do not get it on Steam. Either way, the game is going to be at most $10.
Well, if it came out in '97, yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's dirt cheap. You're gonna see a bit of a Chrono Trigger vibe in there a few ways. It's taken a few notes from Trigger and Cross in its own way. It uses cards for its magic system, which is something I'll always be a sucker for. And its magic system itself has some is Skies of Arcadia several years before that came out.
It's
just one of those unsung gems when it comes to console RPGs.
Cool.
Same
I will
with
add it to the
Anachronauts,
list.
but that's another story.
I'm going to give everybody heads up too. I want to see about closing up in maybe 5 minutes from now. And at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and throw out my own suggestion for a game too, by the way, which is Dawn of War Dark Crusade. Which you can get it on Steam for maybe $12. It's one of the best RTS games around, and I recommend everybody get it. I have
the entire collection of Dawn of War, and I have memed the shit out of Soulstorm.
Good.
And you probably know exactly what I'm talking about with all those Space Marines.
Exactly. Everybody should get that. Michael, I'll buy you a copy if I have to.
Oh, you know what? You know what, Molly? There's one more suggestion for you.
Sure.
This one, a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, this one definitely. But it's super good. It's got a little bit of reflexes that you gotta, I don't know if it's an RPG. It's Legend of Dragoon. I'm actually in the middle.
I've actually played Legend of Dragoon.
I'm in the middle of like replaying that now.
Yeah, I actually haven't played it, so that is something to add to the list. But I am, I guess, slightly familiar with Legend of Dragoon.
Yeah, that one's it gets me right there in the nostalgia.
Right there in his nuts.
But yeah, definitely definitely play that one, and you'll have a lot of fun.
Sweet, thank you.
The story's got some very typical tropes in there, but overall, to me, I just love it. So.
For what it's worth, I do apologize in advance for going a bit ranty, but I've never been a fan of the quote unquote tropes. I realize their existence, but I don't like the phrase. I don't like its use in lexicon, just because I resent what it's basically done with storytelling. Where you're reducing the whole of a story to a bunch of these hashtag chunks, and it's really been abused.
tropes have a use in language, and so
They
that's what I
have a use.
Like
but
I'm divorcing it from what we know as the tropes versus women.
I'm not even getting into that. That's a whole other can of worms, and fuck that shit. Anyways, but the problem that I have is this whole thing of it's given an easy way for people to act like jaded academics as if they've seen it all just because they've read a few tropes. That's ultimately the problem that I have with the way it's used.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just because that's why I don't. I think the only time I've ever really used the term was in a review where I had to bring up flanderization because it was important to something I was getting at.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it's an easy way of saying that you're not dealing with a really groundbreaking story. I mean, you'll see this story done a million times, but it's more like that game in particular is more character driven. So that's where you get a lot of the value in the storytelling.
Yeah. So to be fair, after I had my little change and I became the monk, one question I kept asking was oftentimes how the story is told is just as important as whether or not it's groundbreaking or original.
Is this one of those thousands of years ago kind of stories?
Just because my avatar is me in an ancient gaming temple does not mean I'm that old. I realize I've gone on record as speaking highly about the legacy of storytelling, but still.
Okay. Well, let me go ahead and kind of recap tonight and just want to think. Yeah, it's that time. No, your suggestions are terrible anyway. So let me. All right. So let's see about wrapping this up then. All right.
He's trying to suggest going home.
Let him do it.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, I'll wrap things up here, and you can have your last little piece. All right? You happy?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So. I want to remind everybody watching and everybody who watched this whole thing. I don't know who you are, but some people do apparently. And remind you that. Sorry. Yes,
What was that?
I have a very drunk woman behind me.
Evidently.
Nothing wrong with that.
Tell her we said hi.
Hold on, I gotta smother her with the pillow. I'll be.
What is going on?
All right. Anyway, as I was saying, as I said at the beginning of this stream, I'm going to see about having rotating hosts on this same channel because I'm not always able to get the same amount of time every weekend. So next.
What's up?
All right. So either next week or in about 2 weeks, I think it's up to Nurgle. But he'll be hosting the next stream, and after that, we're gonna see about having. I think Sabaz was up next after that. But yeah. So for everybody who enjoyed this, stay tuned to this channel, and there's gonna be more coming up along the way.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Nurgle, please do me a favor and do not use non-Euclidean dice.
I will do my best just for you.
Do I get my last suggestions?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, look at the time. We gotta get out of here.
Shut your face. I'm gonna do this. See you later,
guys. Everybody.
All
right, go ahead, Micro.
Yeah.
All right. So there's only 2 games I'm going to promote right now. One of them is in early access, so choose which one you want, like right now, if not. But Rivals of the Aether is a Smash Brothers clone-esque game where you play as characters of elements such as fire, earth, wind, water, etc. They're all kind of interesting and new. There's no defense mechanism, so the entire idea is that it's offensive. So if you like Smash Brothers, that's a good game to play, although I wouldn't suggest it if you don't have like a good controller, like a GameCube, etc.
Oh, it's a 2D...
2D Smash Brothers clone, yes. It's pixelated, though.
Yeah,
anyway,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Another game I would suggest right now is a game that I didn't think I would like, but it's called Rampage Knights, which I believe is still in early access, although it could probably be in completely finished. Although I'm pretty sure it's still updating. It's a roguelike brawler that I did play last night on my Twitch channel. The idea is basically that you go through this game, you die, it's permadeath, but you do get stuff afterwards. It's an interesting game. I would suggest looking into it if possible. It's the art is kind of iffy, but once you get past that, I think the game's pretty good. Another game where the art's pretty iffy is called 20XX, which is a Mega Man roguelike game.
Oh, I remember that.
I think I've heard of that one.
I remember
take a look at that one.
That one when I said fuck this company towards Mighty Number 9.
Yeah, because that is actually much better than what Mighty Number 9 looks like. And to be honest, even though it's really shitty, I think it's Spriter Games. It's still really good. It looks really good. The game is plays really well. The stages don't seem like Mega Man, but the best thing about it is that you're actually able to make up your own routes because you can. Once you get enough items, you can dash and jump over other things, which makes the game completely different. So I would definitely suggest that one to play. I have killed maybe a few hours on that one, maybe at least 12 in like a few playthroughs. So I would say that's a pretty good one.
And what game is this again?
20XX is what it's called.
20XX.
I might have to take a look at the rivals of the Aether thing, but it's weird because I'm trying to like be all like smart consumer minded kind of.
Oh, of course.
You know, and yeah. I'm staying away from a lot of early access titles that I'm like.
Oh, that's perfectly fine.
The only early access title that I'm willing to recommend at this time is Project Nimbus.
I actually haven't heard of that one, but I will take a look into that. I'm not saying like to endorse them, like to go and buy them right now, but take a look into them. At least look at them, see what you can, see what you assess, and if you like what you see, then go and give that a try.
Yeah.
I'm drunk though, so there's that.
Well, that and if you want to go for the weird end of RPG, then pick up Joe Denver's Lone Wolf.
Can you like spell that? I'm actually looking up these games. Can you spell that?
THAT.
Wait.
All right.
There we go. All right, that's the stream.
Alrighty then.
Let me go ahead and crash everybody's fun and say I'm going to go ahead and close down the stream for tonight.
All right, babe.
Ciao, everyone.
All right. Well, thank you again, everybody who came to watch and everybody who joined in for the discussion.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thanks, everybody.
I'll catch you next time.
Later.
Peace out.
Bye.
Peace.
Thank you for having me. I enjoy being had. Stay cool.
Yes.